Alrighty, well, welcome to this week's Talk About Ask Us Anything. As is customary, we normally have news items first. It hasn't really been a big Tesla news week per se, but just this morning, I think it was lunchtime actually, there's a bit of very positive news coming out of Hong Kong, and it was in the form of an article written by Bridie Schmidt in the Driven website. And I'll just show you the article, and it says, Tesla Model Y launch date and pricing in Hong Kong revealed. A little bit further on, it says that basically according to an administrative region's customs website, the Model Y will be on sale in Hong Kong from the 2nd of July, which is only 2 sleeps away. So that's very, very interesting. Obviously, Hong Kong is a right-hand drive region, as are we. So you just never quite know what's going to happen. It sort of makes sense that Tesla's just going to finish off their quarter today. And no doubt Osborne Park was a flurry of activity, notwithstanding lockdown conditions. So who knows, perhaps Tesla's website will go from being something like this, which is stay updated, to actually have order now.
Harold, do we know what the situation was with the Model 3 when, how soon after Australian orders became available once Hong Kong orders were? Does anyone know? I can't think of it.
To be honest, no, because it was different, because the Model 3s, as Richard Cooper will attest to, but he's not here at the moment, he actually reserved his car on day one. So
as
he
did
waited,
I.
as did Pete.
Yeah.
So, and Paul.
As did Paul too, yeah.
So they were reservations from day one, whereas the Model Y can't be reserved or ordered or anything. Unlike the Cybertruck, which, a number of us in this room have already got orders for or reservations for. So the Model Y is a bit of an outlier. And the funny thing too is the Model Y has been able to be ordered in Europe for more than the last 12 months. I think the last 18 months has been actually, and they're not even reservations, they are fully configured orders. So it's a little bit different what's happened this time around. But the fact that Hong Kong looks set to commence sales, well, presumably orders, on the 2nd of July bodes very well for Australia, because it makes sense that if they're going to start making right-hand drive Model Ys, well, they might as well pump them out everywhere, because Hong Kong is a tiny, tiny market for the Model Y.
I guess though with Tesla, there's usually a precedent, isn't there, that any vehicle that's gone live for sale in the US is generally 2 years after that comes to Australia.
Yes.
So I'm hoping that's not next year.
Look, the way Shanghai, I think they've gone to 2 shifts for the Model Y. So I think it makes sense that now is probably the right time. The other thing that's been interesting is the Model Y in Shanghai. There's been conspiracy theories about demand being low for the Model Y, given that their delivery time frame is between 1 and 3 weeks, whereas for the Model 3, I think it's 3 to I think it was 12 weeks or quite a number of weeks. So what that might indicate is that Shanghai has spooled up their production, which means they're imminently ready to go to international distribution, which is namely the right-hand drive markets. So I don't know, things could get quite exciting for a few of us in the next few days, perhaps. So I don't know. And that's basically the news I sort of had this week. I mean, there were a few other snippets. The Plaid Plus unplugged performance version of the Plaid Plus did very well at Pikes Peak. I think, Rob, do you know what it was? It actually won its category. It was like a special category that it completely creamed all the other cars.
Yeah, exhibition class, I think they call it.
That's right. Yes. Yep. Which is sort of an obvious thing for it to do, really, given that it's basically the world's fastest production car, full stop. So it sort of makes sense that it would do well at Pikes Peak. But there you go. Are there any new members that are here for the first time? If so, please shout out or put your hand up or whatever.
Yep, I am.
Harry, welcome.
Harry. Thank you.
Have you got your car yet?
Yeah, I've had it for about 1.5 years.
Oh, cool. So long-term owner, new Ask Us Anything participant. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Basically, it's a Model X 75D.
Ah, cool. Fantastic.
And I have got 1 or 2 questions.
Yes.
One is, has anybody put a proper tow bar on that car? One with a square, and who does it?
I think you've come to the right place, Harry.
I have, and I collected it at the service centre in Fremont.
Okay.
A couple of years ago.
Got you.
Frustratingly, Tesla have not homologated that 2-inch receiver hitch in Australia.
Yep.
So according to them, they are not distributing that product here.
Yep.
I know of another member who actually ordered a tow hitch before I got mine, the 2-inch receiver, and had it sent to some relatives in the States, and then they forwarded it to him. I actually collected mine in person. But yes, frustratingly, and it's actually a Bosal, it's a Bosal plug-in hitch. The actual mechanism where it plugs into the car is a Bosal hitch. And it's strange because Bosal produce hitches for many other car manufacturers, but it seems that the 2-inch receiver is only made for Tesla. So it's not like you could buy a Chevrolet, whatever equivalent hitch or something like that.
Got you.
But yeah, unfortunately, Harry, it's not easy to get it. You basically, if you've got relatives or friends in the States,
I do.
Then what you can do is ask them to order it, or you can actually send an email to a service center in the States, and you just quote your VIN, and let's just say you say it's a gift.
Yep.
In fact, to be honest, Tesla in the States don't really care what happens to it, to be perfectly honest.
Yep.
They just need a shipping address in the States.
Yep.
And or if your friends, Tesla's everywhere, so if they could collect it from a service center, possibly even better, and then just ship it over to you. But sadly, it seems Tesla hasn't considered it important to homologate.
And who would put it on for you here?
It just plugs straight in. So in the back of your car, near where you'd expect a tow hitch to be, there's a little panel, and it's got a couple of split fixings. They just sort of pop out, and that little access cover comes out, and you take there's a little protection plug that's in the actual Bosal hitch at the moment. You take that out, you plug the hitch in. In fact, have you got the ordinary tow hitch, Harry?
I haven't got any, and that's the problem.
Oh, okay. All right. So
I don't think I've got the.
No, you will. You will have.
Even if it's a 2016.
Yes, because so is mine.
Okay.
So, in fact, it's built in 2016 and delivered in 2017, as all the Model X's were that came into Australia.
Gotcha.
So it will have the receptacle. So just look after the show, just have a look at the back of your car, and you'll see this it's about that wide, a little panel that's just where you'd expect a tow hitch to be.
Got you. Thank you.
But if you've got any hassles, feel free to give me a call.
Okay.
I'll just stick my phone number on chat, and yeah, just give me a call.
Thank you very
But
much.
you're almost certain to have the receptacle there, Harry. And like I said, it'll be frustrating to get the actual 2-inch hitch, but it's worth it.
Beautiful. Can you just put
Harold.
your phone number up again?
Yeah, it's up there. If you just click on chat, it should be there for everyone to see.
I got you.
Harold, you might want to show Harry your shark fin. While you're talking about tow bars.
Yes.
A lot of people on here wouldn't have seen it before.
Yeah, I'll just have to do that on PlugShare, which is probably the quickest way to do it. And if we go to Lake Grace, oh, by the way, Nigel, I think you're on. I updated the Vintages accommodation to put their website.
Ah, okay, thanks. Yeah, I completely forgot.
And notwithstanding any restrictions that we've got at the moment, we were going to go down this weekend to have a sus, but anyway, be that as it may. So yeah, the shark fin is something that it's basically a tritium. It's a 50 kilowatt tritium charger that weighs 165 kilos.
Wow.
And it was basically plugged into the back of this 2-inch receiver on a custom made mount that has no wheels or anything like that. So it's basically all the weight is being attached with comfort to the car.
That's Harold's self-charging Tesla.
Which now is actually in Geraldton. So this is Tokwa's 50 kilowatt fast DC charger.
Oh, cool.
On site in Geraldton. In fact, you can just see here, that's the actual part that goes into the hitch, the 50 mil receiver part.
Got you.
So,
Wow.
so yeah, there you go.
And
we also...
How much does it give you?
Sorry, say again?
How many kilometers?
That'll charge your car at 200 kilometers per hour.
Wow.
We also helped out John Edwards to put his biofuel, which is another 50 kilowatt tritium charger, and basically drove it up and installed it in about an hour and a half at the Caltex at Jurien Bay.
It's beautiful.
So yeah, so the hitch is definitely up for it. I must admit, when I first put on my car, I just had white knuckles and just wanted to go home and cry to my mummy because it was very scary having this thing swinging on the back of the car.
Sure.
But you know, you get used to that after a little while. So it's all good.
Very, very good.
I think Paul, you're new to Ask Us Anything.
Me?
Yes.
No, I was here last time. I've been off for a little while.
Okay.
You
Sorry,
know, when we
waved, I thought you were
talked
new.
about.
Sorry, apologies.
No, I was just saying g'day.
Yeah. Cool.
No, for the what was it? The Williams. When we first started talking about Williams, I decided to start popping on.
Oh yeah, cool. Yes. Yeah, Williams is progressing as we heard last week.
Yeah.
It looks like the 28th of July. I think Western Power are due to upgrade the site. And then obviously Tesla are due to finish their works in August, which is pretty exciting. Especially for very new Model S and X owners, and in particular Model 3 owners, where you'll be able to make the most of the 250 kilowatt charging ability, which will be pretty awesome. Very awesome. Now, welcome back, Sarah, not Sarah. I forget when your car is due to be delivered. Have you got it yet, or is it still coming?
Yeah, I was the crazy person that picked it up last Friday and immediately drove it to Kojonup the next day.
Yes.
And I caught up with Richard, thank God. He doesn't live far from me, so he said, come round. So 8:30 at night on the Friday night, I'm leaving at 6 a.m. the following morning. I'm round there in his driveway with him taking me through the car, which was great. Bizarrely enough, I hadn't picked up on the fact that it didn't have a spare tyre until I was looking through some things and went, this is not great. I don't really want to go into the country without a spare tyre. So he lent me his modern spare.
Yep.
And because I do go to the country a fair bit, I looked at getting one, but I can't get one delivered till mid-August. So I haven't ordered it, but I will order it. I just wanted to check tonight if there was any way to get one quicker or not.
No,
Probably not.
From modern, were you going to get a modern spare version like Richard lent you?
Yeah, unless there's another option that's quicker.
Well, the quickest.
I mean, what's
would be,
cool about his, it's all in that little bag with everything there.
Yeah, that's really convenient. Look, the quickest would be probably just to get a spare from Tesla as you've got the Performance, haven't you?
Yeah, and I'm worried. I hadn't thought about the tyres. I mean, Richard gave me he made me quite concerned about the fact that I had the Performance tyres on there because he swapped his out. And so I'm kind of not too sure about how reliable they are for country driving in that regard. So I don't know whether that was a good thing to say or not, or whether I should be concerned or not.
Look, look, you're not going on the Gibb River Road. You'll be driving around on, well, not yet anyway. You're driving around on bitumen roads. So the Performance tyres will be perfectly okay. They will naturally wear faster than the non-performance tyres. So what you can certainly do is when it comes time to changing the tyres, you can then either decide to go to is it the 19-inch for Model 3s or is it 18?
Yes. 18, sorry.
18s.
Yeah.
And the Performance are
20s.
20.
Yeah.
So you could either choose to go for something like a harder compound 20-inch tyre than the super sticky high performance tyres you've got on at the moment.
Right.
Or you might then do the leap to actually change to 18 or 19-inch rims and higher profile tyres. But it's not a decision you need to do sort of quickly because your tyres are eminently up to the task. I mean, we've had cars drive to Broome or to Kununurra actually. So, and in fact, Model 3s have gone right around Australia. And I think at least one of those was a performance version. So there's really no tyre concern per se, but yes, they will wear quicker than non-performance tyres.
Okay. Rightio. So I guess I just order one and have to wait.
Well, ask Tesla. They might have them in stock. I know, actually, Jared. Jared's here. Jared, you've got a performance car. You're off mic. Jared might come back to us later. I'm pretty sure he's got a performance car, and he actually got a rim off Tesla straight away. And Tesla do have tyres, so I dare say you could get a spare off Tesla if you wanted to, very quickly.
You could also, Sarah, you could also jump on some of the social media sites. I think there's a Facebook site that's a Facebook group that specialises in Tesla parts in Australia. That's where I got my spare from, because sometimes people buy a long range and put performance wheels or other wheels on their car, and then they just sell the original wheels. So that's what I ended up doing, just getting a second-hand original wheel. And got to give Brian Cleaver a shout out. He helped out. He actually ordered the two wheels.
So is that a full-size one?
Yeah, it's a full-size one. It does take a bit of room in the boot. But being a wheel, you can stuff things inside it, obviously. But yeah, it does take up a bit of room, and it is fairly heavy.
Yeah, because that is the cool thing about that one that Richard uses, which is like it's pretty compact.
Dolly wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
it still travels at speed, which is the cool thing about it.
Yeah. One thing to also remember is, it's not enough just to have the tyre. You obviously need a jack. And you'll find because you'll have to, you don't just want to put the jack anywhere, especially not under the battery, because if you jack up the car with the jack point under the battery, you might just lift the battery and leave the car where it is and basically rip the battery off the chassis. So you don't want to be doing that. So what Tesla does is they have these packs that you might want to order from Tesla or from a third-party supplier as well. And basically they go into the holes on the chassis, the jacking points. But the problem is once you put the pack inside the jacking point, the space that you have between the pack and the ground is, isn't a huge amount. So I've actually ordered a slimline jack from the US, which was quite expensive, but it's fairly lightweight. I'm not recommending that anyone else does this, and don't try it at home. But I ended up buying just a normal scissor jack, one of the lowest profile ones I could find. And the little U-shaped bit at the top, I just angle grinded that off. And that seems to do the job as well.
Oh, great. Okay.
Hi, Pete. This is Sarat, and good evening, everyone. Can I ask one question regarding the tire issues? Now, of course, I'm a new owner, and I totally depend on the RAC to come and fix my tires. I don't do anything. So, do you think the RAC offers that sort of service for Teslas if there is some tire puncture or something?
I do.
They do. Okay, beautiful. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So it's just like you can, just like any other car, you can have RAC breakdown service.
Okay.
Yeah, it's nothing too special about the RAC tires, but you'll find there's only a few wheels that will fit on, it's not necessarily the way they're orientated, the 5 screws, but how deep they go as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. I got a couple of other questions as well. Like, I got this self-driven full.
So just a quickie. If you actually do have a flat tire, when you look on your, if you just click on the car symbol for the menu, and go to service, and then click to the bottom, there's a number there where you can actually get roadside assistance.
Okay, so there is no subscription involved for this.
Well, when your car is new, you actually get that's part of their service. So you just click on the car symbol,
sure.
Service, and then at the bottom you just press on that, and then that will call their roadside assistance number.
How long is that valid for?
I think it's for the life of the warranty. Am I right there, Harold?
I think so. The 4 years, 4 years or 80,000 Ks.
Oh wow, that's excellent.
But it is restricted. Is it 200K or 150K from Perth? It's not the whole.
Yeah, I think it was just 80 when I had it flat. But it was, I was within Perth, but I've got RAC, so that cancels that out.
If I was in Perth, I wouldn't be so concerned about it. It's the fact that I could be in the middle of nowhere. It's going to be an expensive or long process to have no tyre.
Yeah, which is where that Tesla roadside assistance isn't really going to be much help.
Yeah. But it's good to know you got it in the city.
Yeah. Hence you might want to look at the RAC one. But there's also, Harold, I don't know if you can bring up on the Tesla website, the tyre repair kit with the goo and the pump.
Yes.
I want to show Sarah that as well. That might be an option too. It's not going to get you out of every situation, especially if you have a tear in the sidewall of the tire. But it might just limp you to a service station in most circumstances.
I thought you couldn't use that on anything other than the SR Plus.
Yeah.
So you've got a tyre repair kit, which is a compressor. It's an air compressor, and it's got a bottle of goop that's part of the actual setup. And as you can see, it's $125. I think you can get effectively the equivalent at Supercheap Auto for substantially less, but this is a full-on Tesla version of that same thing. And you can get sealant, replacement sealant for $40.
I read that you can't use it though on a long range or a performance.
I don't know that I don't.
It was something to do with the fact that they've got is it sound deadening in the tyre?
Yeah, I read that too.
Yeah, apparently the way it works is if you have a puncture and you've got air escaping out of the tyre, that seems to pull the goo through the foam, through the sound dampening foam that's on the wall of the tyre. And it seems, apparently it still works. I actually asked Tesla that question and they said it does work even with the sound dampening foam.
Yeah, there is something I just noticed. If you read the further detail, one little bit of fine print you might want to be aware of is I just saw it says the damaged tyre should be replaced along with the TPMS sensor.
Yeah, right.
Sounds like the if you use this goop, it will kill your tyre pressure monitoring sensor in your tyre or in the wheel.
Yeah, that's not unique to Tesla. Exactly the same thing was the case with my last Audi as well that had TPMS. If you used goop, you had to get new sensors because it does clog them up.
The sensors, though, I mean, it's not a big deal. They're only about 20 or 30 bucks.
No, they're easy. They're easy to replace.
Yeah, and you don't have to have a special Tesla one. So it has to be one that's obviously, obviously works with Tesla, but it's a standard TPMS sensor that works. It's an industry standard one that works on plenty of other cars as well.
So do the tyres have to be Tesla tyres? Do you have to replace them at Tesla?
No.
Not
at all.
Okay.
And you don't need to use the same manufacturer. It doesn't have to be the same tyre as long as it's the same size and load specification. So as long as it's equivalent or superior to the tyre you've had in load carrying capacity, it's fine.
I've got some Continentals on my car, and I had the option of going with a tyre that had that sound dampening foam in it as well. And I decided it's only on 2 of the tyres, and I decided to go without it just to see if I could tell the difference. And I'm sure if you had a decibel meter, I'm sure you could pick up a difference. But, practically, and most of the time I'll have the radio or something running anyway. So, yeah, saved myself about $30 or $40 a tyre.
Okay. I have one other question, not tyre related. Is it worth getting the paint? Is it ceramic coat or something on the paintwork? Does that actually make much of a difference?
Controversial.
Has anyone done that?
Yes, and it does. Well, according to me, it does. I got PPF on the front and ceramic coating. The ceramic coating just makes it so much easier to clean. I just hose it there off and the dirt falls off. And the PPF that I've got on the front protects the paintwork from small stone chips. And the PPF has already got a few small little holes in it, but the paintwork underneath is still in perfectly good condition.
Nigel, have you got the self-healing PPF?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And how do you find cleaning the sections of the car where the PPF is?
Just as easy as the bits that are ceramic coated.
Okay.
Water just beads on them. I've got an applicant liquid that I put on about once a month. I just squirt it, rub it on, rub it off. And I do that over the whole car. That it adds about 10 minutes to the whole clean. And I do it once a month. And the water just beads off. And then I've got a high pressure hose and I just stand back, wet the car over. If it's really dirty, I'll put some soap film over it with the pressure hose. Otherwise, I then just squirt everything off. All the bugs on the front just fall off.
Excellent.
So personally, I find it's good.
So that's about $4,000-5,000, correct?
Mine cost me, I think it was around the 5,000 mark.
Yeah.
And when I went to pay, the guy that did it goes, "Oh, the boss gave you a nice price on that." Now, whether he was saying that to everybody or not, I don't know.
But Nigel, that's for film and coating rather than just ceramic coating, yeah?
Yes, yeah, that was for a PPF on the front. Now it was the bonnet, the bumper, the two side panels, and the wing mirrors. So anything that's facing forwards.
Nigel, why wouldn't you go PPF all the way around rather than just on the front and ceramic for the other parts? What's the cost? Right, okay.
Yeah, they basically, it was about 5. I think it was going to be about 8.5 with it full PPF with the self-healing stuff. And I thought, I don't really think it's necessary. Most of the problems occur with stone chips on the front.
Well, one thing,
you just had yours done as well recently, didn't you?
Who?
Andy.
Andy Jones?
Yes,
Yeah.
sorry, I did. Sorry, I was just finding my mute button there. Yeah, I had mine done as well. And I actually think, from what he said, they did the PPF on the front of the car. It sounds like I had something almost exactly like you. But they also, on top of the PPF, did the ceramic coating on that as well.
And how much was it, Andy?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I kind of agreed with that. The guy, I wouldn't give the price out, but hey, I'm only telling the whole of YouTube, right?
No. So, well, how much would it be if you paid the full price? What's the full price?
Yeah, so for side window tinting and back rear screen tinting and PPF over the front of the car and ceramic coating over the whole car, it should have been something around 5,500.
Cool. So one counterpoint, my Model X is 4 years old and it's done 175,000 Ks and it's got nothing on it at all, nothing. And my bonnet has got quite a few stone chips, but because the whole body or the whole skin is aluminium, the stone chips are just like this little bit of white, sort of silvery white color, and that's it. They haven't changed since the day they happened. And I've got $5,000 in my pocket. Now,
yeah, the thing that bothers me is people who open their doors into your car. My other car just has it's just chipped all down the side over the years from people. If it wasn't for that, the car would look perfect, but it's just got these tiny little dings all down the side. I don't know if it helps with that or whether that's just too much of an impact for the protection.
If you put the PPF on the doors as well, it would protect against that. So long as they didn't really smash into it. Just a little door ding, it would protect against the small ones.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks everyone. It was good information.
I just joined the conversation. Can I say something?
Sure.
Yeah, I had a full body PPF done, a week after I bought my car, which was over 18 months ago. 3 times it saved me from having to have paint done. So couldn't recommend it highly enough. And the other thing, I've got a dark coloured car, which if you just normally wash it, you get paint swirls. Well, this you don't get swirls at all because it self-heals if you do. So I'll even just, if it's been dusty, I'll just hose it off and then chamois it off, which you could never do with a dark car because you just scratch the hell out of it. So best thing I ever did.
What was the cost for you?
Sorry?
How much did you pay for your whole?
I got the whole thing done, and I got the roof, the back part of the roof, and the side windows tinted. It was just over $5,000.
Well, you're good.
So it saved me more than that just in one event.
Yeah.
So,
Cool. Andrew Hagan, welcome. I know you're a new member. I don't recall if you've been on Ask Us Anything before, but if you haven't, then definitely welcome. And if you have, welcome back.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, I popped in a couple of weeks earlier, but I was putting my kids to bed and couldn't talk, so I just listened in.
Yeah, cool.
But picked up my car pre-COVID on Friday, just Friday late afternoon.
Awesome.
No, you didn't. You picked it up Monday, mate, because I picked it up for you.
Oh, sorry, not Monday, Dave. You're right. Sorry, not Friday, Monday. Picked it up Monday.
That's all good. It's all a blur when you've got a brand new car and everything's new and exciting.
It is, and you've had a couple of glasses of wine. Absolutely, it's a bit of a blur. But thank you. I feel very welcome, and I appreciate everyone's comments and stuff. It's a great channel, and good on you guys for doing it.
Oh, look, it's the least we can do as a club is to try and keep our members informed of everything that's going on with the cars. You know, and feel free to ask any questions on any of the menus in the car. It just so happens I'm not going to be able to help myself but show off what I just previewed a little while ago, which is a complete emulator of the actual touchscreen. So, for instance, if
I noticed that earlier. Very impressive, Harold.
it only took me about 7 hours today to do it, and it's not perfect. And as you can see, they're only still photos and all handheld and stuff. But for instance, you know, if you want to click on the rear view cameras, you can get your rear view shots. You can then just slide to just the one camera. You can pick tunes, go to settings, change various audio settings, balance, other options, immersive sound and sources. If you go into the main menu, you've got your quick commands, quick controls, which are normally what are pertinent to whether you're parked or driving. You can change your lights, locks, you can add a key card, you can add a phone or another fob. You can actually buy a fob from Tesla. And yeah, there's all various other things. So if anyone needs to know anything about how to configure their cars, even to the point of hooking on Wi-Fi.
This is what happens when you're in lockdown. You got too much time in your hands.
Or Bluetooth. You could even, if this little symbol up here is your dash cam, and this is your sentry mode. So say you're driving along and something strange happens in front of you, you just press on this symbol and go click save footage. And later on, if you're parked, and it only happens if you're parked, you can then launch the viewer and it will then play back various clips that you've got. But anyway, enough of that showing offness. I'll bring that up if anyone's got a question about how to set a menu or something.
So you took photos of everything I can see, and is it an HTML or how have you done it?
I did it in PowerPoint.
PowerPoint, right? Excellent.
So it's much more work than it. Well, anyway, it takes a long time to put in all the hyperlinks.
Yeah.
But well, I'm not even sure if PowerPoint, if you can actually export just the presentation itself, which you might be able to do. And once I watermark it with Tokwa's logo, then I might just email it out to everyone or spam it on Twitter or something. If it's like a self-contained package.
Yeah, nice.
But that way you can sort of play around with it.
Harold, you can export PowerPoint files like that so that people can't get to the native slides.
Ah, cool. Right. Excellent.
You can do that.
It's not perfect because, you know, to make it perfect takes, 10 times longer, but it's certainly good enough to have a look around all the features. Of course, as soon as Tesla changes their user interface, then I'll have to redo it all over again. But
I was in my head. I was playing that joke. I was going to trick you and pretend that I've just read the news.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. Version 9 or 10 or 11, whatever's going to come out. But
Harold, can I ask a question?
Oh, sorry.
Yes, go on.
Oh, thanks. And it relates to this whole version changing thing. I just watched a couple of videos online about how to navigate and add not waypoints, but add multiple locations. Now, I watched someone do it on their car, Model 3, but when I went to try it on mine, it just wouldn't let me. It wouldn't let me add a second location.
It doesn't. You can't. That's basically implying a waypoint. So when you're navigating to somewhere, you can only navigate to one place ever.
So that's what. I mean, Elon. I think he said they're going to add it, or he capitulated, right?
No, he didn't.
He's been saying that for a while.
No, what he said was, "Do you really want it?" You know, and everyone goes, "Yeah," and he goes, "Oh, you know, we'll do it." But he said that before, to be perfectly honest, and it's definitely low.
Okay, all right, good to know. Good to know.
Priority.
That's right. We got door pockets, so you know Elon does give up on some things eventually.
Yes.
Harold, as you know, I just did quite a long trip, Perth, Merredin, Lake Grace, Hopetown, through the Katanning, and then on to Margaret River, back to Perth, all within
Perfect
about
timing.
6
Perfect
nights.
timing, Gilbert.
Yeah, it was terrific. But I'm planning a trip which includes the places like Minningu, Morawa, and Mullawa. Are there any superchargers there? I know I should be able to check it myself, but
There's definitely no superchargers, that's for sure. But
I mean, any other chargers?
yes. So when
Mullawa,
you go,
yeah.
when you go, Gilbert.
Right.
So sorry, when are you going?
And not until September.
Right. So which way are you going? Up to Geraldton first?
Probably go up as far as Jurien, and then head into Minningu, and then from there head north to Morawa and Mullawa, and probably come back via Geraldton.
Okay,
I might dash out to Yalgoo as well. Not too sure yet, but from the look of it, we've got plenty of choice.
Yes. So you've got the Caltex Jurien Bay fast DC charger.
Yeah.
Then at Minningu, I'm from memory, it's a 32 amp. No, it's a 20 amp three-phase socket.
Right.
Yes, that is a 20 amp. So for that, you'll need an adapter, which you can borrow from the club.
Right.
Then you mentioned Mullawa. And that is probably a 32.
Three phases, yeah.
I don't know what 10 amps means.
Harold, bypass Mullawa where it's not safe.
It's not safe for what, Rob?
Yeah, the parking's atrocious there. It's not needed.
Yeah, Mullawa's not really a charger. It was David ran an extension cord out from the pub out the door to charge off three-phase.
Right, okay.
I wouldn't call that a charger.
At Yalgoo, I think someone called Rob might have been there because that looks like his car. And that's a 32 amp three-phase outlet. Whoops.
Okay.
Which you can see there. It's got the little notch in the bottom.
Right.
So that's Yalgoo. And where else are we going to go?
Minningu.
Oh, Minningu is we just did Minningu a moment ago. That's
okay.
That's a 20 amp, so you'll need an adapter.
Minningu's a 20 amp three-phase on the water tank at the Turf Club.
Right. Okay.
And then if you went,
I'll check later on, but that's encouraging.
Yes, there definitely is stuff around, and if you went to Three Springs, depends on which way you're going back. I mean, it's obviously nice to do a loop so you don't cover the same.
Yeah, and New Norcia is a nice stop on the way back down the inside. There's a three-phase at the Puma Servo there. That'll be my car right there.
Right. Oh, terrific. Okay. Great. Thank you.
So yeah, make sure you've got a three-phase charger of some kind, and then you'll be golden up there.
Great. Yeah. I have one other question. Does any passengers in the front seat of Model S have difficulty doing up their seat belts? The seat belt socket seems to be way back, situated quite a long way back compared with the other cars. And I've had a few passengers in my Model S saying have difficulty finding the latch to. No one else has had that.
Having the seat further forward, would that exacerbate that issue?
No, I think the actual latch is mounted to the seat.
The seat. Okay.
Who's sharing that? What's that? Tesla gets Waze navigation features. Oh, okay. According to someone with 4 subscribers.
I haven't seen.
Cool. So if we just
I've got a quick question in regards to the new Gen 3 charging units available. Just around, I don't know if this is the right forum to ask it, but just around the fact about single phase or 3-phase, I'm just assuming that it will work on a single phase house rather than having 3-phase.
Yes,
it will. It'll do 32 amp single phase, and in fact 32 amp 3-phase as well. But it'll happily work on single phase and get you 7 kilowatts.
Perfect. And the other part to that is then, because there was always that trade up to the Zappi charger, and the defining parts between that would have been the Zappi had the breaker in it, but also that you could then transfer off your solar if you wanted to feed in from your solar to it. Now, I understand that some of that has now been bridged by the new Gen 3, which is one, it comes now with that breaker, but not necessarily the solar. Is that correct?
Well,
that's right. So there's the Zappi's claim to fame is its ability to monitor your export to grid and moderate the charge rate to your car automatically. Whether there's enough value in that to justify the extra cost is really a decision. I mean, it's not a great economic decision, but it's a really nice feel-good decision to be able to say every bit of charge in my car came from my solar. There is possibility that the Gen 3 charger will be able to integrate with things like that. It does have Wi-Fi built in and it does call back home, but at this point there isn't a way of driving that. So it's speculation as to whether that would be possible on the Gen 3 charger or not.
Okay, perfect. That's okay. I've ordered one anyway. Just I thought it was there. I'll order it and just go with it. So that's great. Thanks.
Yeah, they're a really good value EVSE for what they are. I've got one over a Zappi. I really love the idea of the Zappi, but the difference in cost didn't really make sense to me. But I know other people have made the opposite decision, and that's absolutely fine.
Harold, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Completely different. Has anybody had a squeaking steering wheel and or suspension squeaking?
Just the steering wheel on my part. It was just I can't exactly remember what it was. It was rubbing on something near where the steering column goes into the firewall. Yeah, I just put it in the app, and Tesla came out and just put a bit of lubricant on it, did something. It was a 20-minute fix and hasn't really done it again.
Beautiful. Was that done while you were under warranty or out?
Under warranty.
Okay.
No cost, yeah.
Harry, you've got the Model X, haven't you?
Yep.
Okay, I'm just going to bring up...
oh, sorry, yeah.
Mine
was a Model 3, so...
The NHTSA have got, and this is actually applicable to all owners, so you can actually enter in your own make, so it can be a Model 3 or Model S, but they actually have a section called Manufacturer Communications. And Harry, there was an issue, my car had a front squeak, so if you went over a speed hump really slowly, it would squeak. And what it was one of the rubber seals on one of the suspension joint knuckles or whatever, or ball joints went dry, or the ball joint went dry and they replaced it under warranty. Now, of course, your car is out of warranty now.
Yep.
But this is a known issue,
Yep.
so you should confront Tesla with it. If you go to nhtsa.gov, actually, I'll actually put the thing on, I'll put it on chat so that you can actually just click on it. But like I said, you can basically use that website for other Teslas or any other car for that matter. But there are specific bulletins that mention this issue. So if Tesla invite you to pay for it, you could invite them to look at the NHTSA site and say, well, this is a known issue, and they've actually got a fix for it, such as the vibration that you get on hard acceleration.
I've had that too.
Yes, and they've probably replaced that under warranty with your half shafts.
Yep.
And what you'll find with your car right now, I mean, I rarely accelerate hard, but if you do, you'll get that vibration come back. It's not the same. It's not as it's just a sound rather than the actual vibration that we used to have.
Yep.
But they've brought out another bulletin only a couple of months ago that is addressing that same issue. So Tesla can't, in any sort of meaningful way, insist that you pay for this last fix just because you're now magically out of warranty, because they haven't really addressed the core of the issue.
That's fantastic. That's exactly right. And I find if I go down to low, there's no vibration, low suspension.
I know, yep. And in fact, Tesla have done things like if you put your suspension on high, they used to reduce the maximum power that the car would produce to inhibit the severity of the vibration with the original half shaft issue. So it's an ongoing thing, unfortunately. And I've had, I think, 4 sets of half shafts.
Wow.
Which, as a Tesla shareholder, pains me greatly because that's a lot of money being poured down the drain.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is that been fixed on the new models now, Harold?
Well, you mean the brand new one? Well, I don't know.
No. I mean the more recent ones, sort of the 19, 20, 21 models. So 19 and 20 models, I should say.
Yeah, I don't know. They keep. I think this half shaft issue's had about 4 or 5 different revisions where they've been trying to address it, and they keep tweaking things, but I don't know if they've actually completely fixed it. I mean, let's hope they have, but I don't know.
Harold,
Carmen, yes.
Yes. When I reverse in my driveway, I do get a squeak as well, but I don't know if that's the brakes.
Yes, it is. So, and this is common to all Teslas, because most of the time you're driving with only your right foot and you right pedal using the accelerator, and you hardly ever use the brakes because the cars are so good at regenerating energy. Your brakes are so unused that, I don't know what it is, they get some film or something on them, that when you go in reverse, you can have some awful squealing noise when you just lightly tap the brakes as you're sort of trying to control yourself going backwards, and you lightly go on the brakes. It's an awful sound. And the simplest solution to it is if you're sort of doing the speed limit somewhere and then you apply the brakes quite hard, and that somehow, I don't know whether it's deglazing the discs or something, it basically prevents that sort of sound. But it's perfectly normal, but it's not fantastic to hear. But there's nothing wrong with your car. It's just because the brakes are so underused, as opposed to any other sort of internal combustion car.
Well, I think the main use is when I start the car, because often I get the message, press hard on the brake to activate the reverse?
Could it be rust? Could it be rust on the disc?
It wouldn't be rust. No, it's not rust. It's just, it might be some sort of film or something that somehow develops if the brakes are underutilized. I doubt it would be rust because the pads are in contact with the disc at all times, but very, very lightly, of course. It's just that they're not properly being used, and somehow they get some sort of coating or something happen to them, where when you go in reverse slowly and you put the brakes on gently, they really squeal.
Okay, I'll give it a try.
The if I can just say, the on my Commodore, which had, it's 18 years old and it had brake light warnings and everything like that. So I just learned. I just was trying to find out how I can slow down this car in a hurry if I needed to, and I tried the handbrake, and there's this awful squeal, which I've never heard anything like it. And I think it's just probably angle, the actual how it's mounted on how the brake is sort of mounted on. If compression on it will push it one way forward, but in reverse it'll push it back to an unfavorable position. I don't think it's rust or anything. It's just the dynamics of the engineering of the how it's done. It's just like if you had on a bicycle, if you had your brake shoe pads back, then as rolling forward it's fine, but the other way it'll sort of, it potentially can vibrate. And anyway, just my 2 box.
So Petty, you're basically saying that in reverse the brake pads use a slightly different part of the rotor of the disc.
I'm just speculating. That's a more reasonable explanation, because it's just a horrendous sound. And I thought I'd broken everything, but my brakes haven't failed in the Commodore yet, but I thought I'd get a Tesla instead. So carry on.
Can I ask something, Harold?
Yes, Angela.
Harold. Yeah, I'd like. Hi everyone. I just wanted to ask about charging. I've only got a normal PowerPoint in the carport, and I've just go into town and back again. It's about 50k round trip, and I've used maybe 20% of the battery. I'm just plugging it in every time because it's charging. It takes like 5-7 hours to charge. Is that all okay? Doesn't matter how many times I charge it?
No, you've got an SR Plus, so you can actually charge your car to 100% all day, every day. So,
all right, and does it matter? Does it matter if you leave the plug in, the charging plug? Can you just leave it there so when it's finished charging, it just stops charging? It doesn't matter.
Absolutely. So in fact, if you went on a long holiday and you left the car unattended, that's the best thing to do, is leave it plugged in. Because what will happen over time is you'll lose a little bit of charge because there's various computers working and whatever. And also, especially if you've got Sentry mode active, you'll actually lose about 11% every 24 hours, and a bit less in the performance or long range versions. So yeah, you can absolutely, if you keep it plugged in, every now and then, if it depletes a bit of range, it'll then just start charging again to get up to the limit that you set. But given that your car is a Shanghai built SR Plus with the iron phosphate batteries, you can then basically charge it to 100% all day, every day, and just plug it in every night if you like. That's completely fine.
The other thing is the slower that you charge your batteries, the longer they will last. So if all you ever do is plug it into a Tesla supercharger and charge it at 170 kilowatts an hour, you will ruin the batteries quicker than just plugging it into your mains. So you're doing the best thing for your battery.
So just a quick refresher on charging. When you go into your charging screen, so you can set the limit, and if you've got a performance or a long range Model 3 or an older SR Plus whose VIN starts or doesn't start with LRW, you then set it basically to 90%. Otherwise, you can actually on a SR Plus set it to 100 all day, every day. And then there is also another feature where you've got scheduled charging. So you can actually tell it to start charging at a certain time. So for instance, if you've got, sorry, one thing that it's probably a good time to mention is for everyone who has bought their car in their own natural name, like not a business name, then you need to go onto Synergy's website and just do a search for EV tariff. And that Synergy will then give you a discount of 30%, which I think is roughly about 20 cents per kilowatt hour between 11 p.m. and 4 a.m. I think.
4 a.m.
Yeah, it's 4 a.m.
And the good thing is your entire house gets that same discount because they don't care where the electricity is going. So if it's a hot summer's night and you've got the aircon blaring, you're basically getting that discount overnight. So what you can actually do is set a scheduled start. So you can actually set this time for 11 p.m. or maybe 5 past 11. Or you can also do a scheduled departure, which when you set the schedule, you can actually tell it when you want to leave. So it'll precondition the car and charge it by whatever time you want to leave in the morning. And under the settings, you can also do it for like weekdays, all week. And you can also do off-peak charging. So what you can do is when you click on this little link, you can tell it when the actual off-peak charging ends. So for instance, with the EV tariff, you could set this at 4 a.m. instead of 6 a.m. So it'll actually do the charging up until 4 a.m., but it will also warm the car or cool it depending on what season it is, and have it ready for you to go in comfort at the scheduled time, which is, oops. Well, this is where this thing breaks down a little bit. At the time you want it. So say you want to leave at 8 a.m., but you can then also tell it to actually, that your off-peak finishes at, well, say 6 or 4, and it'll basically charge the car at the right time, or have it fully charged at the right time, and preconditioned for you to leave.
That's how I've got my car set up. It works great. It's brilliant. Harold, just going back to Angela's question, I vaguely remember reading somewhere that there was, and I can't exactly remember the reason why, but there was a benefit to leaving your car plugged in even between charges. So I couldn't remember if it was because it draws some power for the battery management system to keep the battery temperature, where it likes it, or whether it, I presume it wouldn't be balancing the cells if it's not charging.
I think one benefit would be if you preconditioned the car. So if you had the air conditioner running, it would then be using that on shore power instead of your battery power.
Sure.
And it's also, it's a good thing to get used to doing. Like everyone is used to, unfortunately these days with smartphones, you've got to charge them quite regularly. So whenever you can, you opportunistically sort of plug them in or put them on an inductive charger. So if you just get into the routine of every evening when you get home, you just plug your car in, and every morning as you leave, you just unplug it. And that's really convenient. That way you'll always be at the desired charge level, which, like I said, for SR Plus is made in Shanghai, is 100%. And for everything else, it's 90% or less, but 90 is perfectly safe.
So does that apply to the wall charger as well?
Yes, same. It doesn't matter which. It doesn't actually matter which charger. In fact, it could be the supercharger for that matter. It doesn't actually matter. Although, now that I've said the supercharger word, obviously you can't leave your car at a supercharger when it's fully charged, because Tesla will charge you a idle fee, because you're basically stopping other people from using that supercharger. Although having said that, that only applies if at least 50% of the stalls are occupied. So if it's midnight in Eton, and you're the only car there, and you haven't got around to unplugging your car straight away once it was finished charging, you won't get charged an idle fee because you'll be the only car there.
Great.
For the EV charging off-peak thing, do you need a different meter?
Well, yeah, no, yes and no. So as long as you have a smart meter, I think there's a cost of $100 and something, $120.
$95.
So
yeah,
95.
Okay, yeah, that's a reprogramming fee. And then if you've got an old, a non-smart meter, such as the old induction aluminium disc meters, they will then replace it. But I think that cost is either the same as either $90 or about $100 and something. It's not.
I think it's a bit more for a three-phase. Depends. Yeah.
Got it. Dollars, Paul?
It was a couple of hundred for us because we got solar panels. So yeah, and they use the same one.
Yes, but I'm not sure on the EV. I haven't looked, to be honest, but the website will presumably show it.
Yeah.
If it's for the purpose of getting the EV tariff, it might not be as much of a cost, or maybe it is. But if you've got solar, you've already got the correct meter. You just need it to be reprogrammed so they can add the extra tariff, which is extra time period for it to actually measure and report that to Synergy.
Yeah, I'm not. I charge mine in the middle of the night, and I get 13 cents at the moment. So I'm not changing yet.
No, that's well. If you've got that, well, that's right. Because if you've got a lot of solar and even better, a battery, a storage battery, then another tariff that you can contemplate, but really practically only if you have a battery storage system, is the smart power tariff. But the sting in the tail, and you've got very cheap overnight charging. It's 13, 14 cents from 9 p.m. to 6 or 7 a.m. But the sting in the tail is from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. It's over 50 cents per kilowatt hour. And that can be a real killer.
I would actually say, Harold, on that with the overnight charging, because we were for 3 years we were in a rental with the Tesla on the cheaper rate from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. and you just have to be, if you're careful about putting in LED lights and getting energy efficient appliances and setting everything to come on at 9. We actually found it was quite good. It was it made it worth it, but that was when we were in a small place with not a big house. If you're careful, if you're going to go on that, be careful. But you can make it work.
You're going to go on what?
Was that a question? Sorry?
You've got to really do your research.
Yeah.
Harold, can I ask you this question regarding this? Little bit confused about this EV tariff. To get that, all what we have to do is to go to Western Power website and apply, is it? Or do we have to do anything else? I'm a little confused now.
No, it's on Synergy. So,
Synergy website. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
In fact, we can do it live.
So I applied for it today and got rejected because the car was bought in my company's name. So it has to be your own personal. They basically require you to have to supply your DOT, Department of Transport, registration documents. And on that document, your address needs to correspond with your Synergy My Accounts details. But it also it has to be the same name. So it has to be Joe Bloggs address. And the car has to be registered to Joe Bloggs at that address. If it's a company name, they won't accept it, which to me is a bit of a short-sightedness. It doesn't really, I don't understand why they do that, but it just means there's a lot of people out there buying electric cars now under their companies. They are going to be charging it at home, yet they can't take advantage of this tariff.
Yes, and I can report that I've got 2 Teslas. They're both in a company. They've been purchased by a company that's wholly owned by me, and they're insured in natural people's names like mine and my wife's. And yes, Synergy still refused to allow the tariff. but that's simply one of their policies. It's just a policy of theirs. So
companies will get the tax benefits of having the car in the company name, and you can claim the power that you use at home as a tax deduction in the company.
You just want to be careful.
Only for business use, though. Only for business use.
Yes, and you've got to pay. You either pay FBT, fringe benefits tax, on the personal use, or you can actually just, as long as you reimburse your company for all your private use with a logbook, then you can legitimately have private, mixed use.
So I used to work for Synergy, so I know all the execs there. So it's something I'm going to be having a beer with them in the next couple of months with any way to challenge them on that. So watch this space.
Well, and actually, to be honest, it actually is in Synergy's interest to have a price signal, because what it's doing is it's actively discouraging EV owners from getting home at 6 p.m. and plugging a car in and charging there and then, which actually exacerbates the duck curve of the solar situation. So by pushing it off to 11 p.m., that's when you've got a lot of off-peak power that's in surplus, and you're using the price signal to push that demand to a more convenient time. So yeah, it is a bit short-sighted of Synergy to not allow that for all EVs, regardless of what they are, particularly since it's on a domestic L1 tariff, or supply. It's a domestic supply for a house.
Yeah, it should be based on the tariff, whether it's a domestic or a commercial tariff, not on the registration details of the car.
Exactly.
I applied last week after you told us, and I got it approved within 24 hours, but I had to send all the paperwork.
Yeah, you got to take a photo of your rego papers.
Yes.
And scan it, or take a photo and send it.
Yes.
Works well.
I've got a problem. Yeah, I got approved as well, but they've got to come and do the changes to the meter, and I live, rurally, so I don't know when that's going to be. Could be any time.
That's a shame.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to ask is those USB-C points. I found the 2 in the back, but I haven't found the 2 in the front for charge cable for the phone. They're supposed to be in the glove box, I think.
No, they're not in the glove box.
No, there is one in the glove box now in your car, Angela.
Yeah, that's
just to the left, but that's just for the Sentry mode and for the dash cam. So as you open.
Oh yeah, not that glove box. I mean the center console. Was there one? They're supposed to be in there.
Yeah, they're facing forwards.
There's a 12-volt outlet in the center console.
Yeah, but there's 2 USBs at the front as well. I can explain to you how it works in my car, but you've got a slightly different console, Angela.
I can explain that if you like, guys.
Yeah,
that's the 12-volt. I'm not sure whether USB. Are you looking to charge your phone, Angela?
Yes, it doesn't have cordless charging.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so guys, those 2 USB-C ports are in that the front section of the center console. So in your picture there that you showed, Harold, they're in that second bit over the top.
Okay, the one that
over here
slides back.
Over there,
under there,
yeah. And they're just a bit difficult to see, but if you weren't sat in a seat and you just looked over, you'll see them. They're really small, but you'll spot them.
So they're just in this compartment here, are they?
A little bit lower, Harold. Just inside there.
Yeah.
Gosh, I couldn't see them. Okay, I obviously must. Very hard to find.
Yeah, just use the lights on your phone or a small torch, and you'll be able to see it.
Okay. Thank you.
It's just slightly tricky because that the front face of that console bit is an angle, which means that your eyes don't see them. So you need to lean over, or you can feel with your fingers.
So I've just put a video online. It's just kindly supplied to me by Andy Hagen, which is just an Alibaba accessory, but it shows exactly where the USBs are. They're, like you say, they are at the back, but they're facing forwards.
Yeah.
And I've put that in the chat.
Just on the tariffs as well, just something to make mention of. It probably won't impact many people, but the few that it does impact, it will be a big impact. If you're on a time of use tariff already, just check that it's not one of the old legacy Synergy tariffs. So I'm on one from about 10 years ago, and there's other people on tariffs from 15 years ago, and some of those tariffs have been discontinued a long time ago, and they're very advantageous. If once you disconnect and or you switch to the EV tariff, there's no way of going back. So you'll lose that tariff forever. So if you're on a time of use tariff, which just basically means that you pay a different rate at different times of the day, just make sure that it is the current one. And then obviously do your figures to see if you'd be better off or not. But if you're on one of the older legacy tariffs, just think twice before changing a tariff, as you may not be able to.
You're going to need to prove to Synergy that you've got the EV every year. I've had to do mine every year. So you'll need a copy of the DOT documents to send to them. You're muted, Harold.
John Hall, you've got a question.
Yes, I have. My wall charger has taken the knock. What it does is you plug it in and it will charge for about 30 seconds, then it switches off. Now, I've had somebody look at it and they said, oh, it's on the foot, you've got to get a new one. There can't be all that much wrong with it, surely.
No.
Reset.
One of the
reset button.
No, not that. One of the biggest.
I tried that. That doesn't work.
No, one of the biggest vulnerabilities of the chargers is the cable. So the cable's obviously got power cables and control cables. Now, what you'll probably find, John, is if you get your cable and you give it a twist, so you might do a loop, like you might twist it round in a loop, and see if that's more stable, and and have it plugged into the car. So what you may need to do is possibly just keep it in like a loop and just use a bit of electrical tape or cable tie or something to just keep it in a tight loop or a section of it. So that it basically then relieves the strain on the cable or the control cable and stops it from breaking, because unfortunately a lot of these high power wall connector cables have been over tensioned or haven't been wrapped properly, and the control cables inside fracture.
This is the cable from the machine to the car you're talking about.
Yes. So like with extension cords, most cables have a natural way of wanting to lay, like they'll sort of curl up in a certain way. What you'll probably find on yours is just experiment with it, plug it in, and if it works, it works. But if it doesn't, just grab like a loose end of it and just give it a twist and see if that then makes it start charging again. Then if it does, try and replicate that twist permanently, like sort of put a loop with that twist and tie it together and see if that works. That's certainly worked at the Riverton shops.
Yeah, there's public destination charger at Stockland, which was the same, and the other one in Rockingham behind the Dome. That's gone the same. And both of them, you needed to turn the plug just before you plugged it in 360 in a clockwise direction, and then it worked. The other interesting thing was sometimes I found that if you picked it out and went to press the button on the charger, my cover to the charging port on the car would not open.
If I twisted it, pressed it, it would open. That was a useful check sometimes to see if it was going to be okay.
Yes, in fact, the push button which gets your charge flap to open gets its power from one of those control wires. So like you say, Nigel, if you push the button it's not working, that can bode badly for the rest of the charging session.
Okay, thanks for that.
Maybe also check, John, just underneath where the cable comes out of the charger, that it hasn't come off. The Williams charger had that problem.
No, I had a Sparky, I had Platinum Electrics come out and they ran their test all through it and they just said, oh, it's buggered, you've got to get a new one. But it sounds like it might be just the cable. I can't see that it's anything serious because you plug it in and it does work a bit. And it's felt to me like something was heating up. And it might be a break in the cable, as you say.
Yeah, it's just a break in the cable.
5.5 years, it's 5.5 years since we put it in.
Yeah, it's just a break in the cable, but if you relieve it by twisting it, it can get it to work properly.
Okay.
Just a note also on the installation of those HPWCs, the Tesla wall connectors. If you purchase them off the website, there's a Tesla suggested list of electricians.
Yeah.
You'll find that if you get some quotes from them, the price is going to be extremely lofty. You shouldn't pay, I mean, it depends on a number of variables and the cable run from your switchboard, etc., and other variables. But for a very simple installation, shouldn't be more than about $400 or $500.
That's right.
But yeah, you can get quoted 3 and 4 times those amounts. Sometimes it is warranted, but if you get in charge anything more than $500, just ask the electrician what the extra cost is for. If it's warranted and if you can demonstrate that it's an extra long cable run, or you need your switchboard rewired or whatever, or another subboard put in or what have you, then then some extra additional costs may be justified. But yeah, $1,500 and $2,000 quotes for a $400 job.
Yeah, mine cost me $700 or $750, but I had to run 30 meters of 32 amp cable.
Yeah, there you go.
I've just been quoted 350 and I'm in Mandurah. So once mine arrives, he's going to come and do it. He said if it's a little bit extra in the run, he'll just charge me the little bit extra, like $30. But he said it'll be under 400.
Yeah, exactly. So so that's the price you should pay, not 4 digit figures for a standard installation.
Okay,
Rich, you had a couple of questions. I think one of them was about phone access recognition. So I presume you're muted there, Rich. You just got to unmute.
I'm a newbie, can you tell?
We're all new at this.
Yeah, no, thanks, mate. It was just a quick question about, we've noticed Lindsay and I have got our own separate phones, obviously, and sometimes Lindsay's gone to get in the car, and when she goes and puts her foot on the brake pedal, it still recognizes, even though I'm not there, it comes up with my settings, and she has to manually select her profile. I understood that it would recognize whose phone was getting in the driver's seat, and it would give you those settings.
Right. Okay. So when you go into, you click on the car icon.
Yep.
And locks.
Yep.
And you've got obviously key cards, but you can also add a phone key. So have you got both? Do both of you have a phone key?
We've actually got the 2 cards that the car came with, plus our phone each. And
right,
we've also
so you got 2 keys and 2 phones. Rich.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in this list, you've got 2 phones as well.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
You can set one to be the preferred one, which is whoever's in the car the most as the driver.
Yeah, that's on the Bluetooth though, Nigel. That's not the phone key.
But it will not recognise and set the profile unless you manually select it.
Okay, so you do have to. So what it's doing is it's picking up, I think, the last driver.
The last driver is the one, yes.
Right, and so if Lindsay drove the car last and then I get in, I do have to manually select myself as a profile.
Yeah.
What you're saying? So it doesn't automatically kind of figure it out and do it.
No, it's not that clever, unfortunately.
I'll message Elon tonight. That'll be the update.
Yeah.
But I thought if you recognises your phone as a key and you've attached your phone key as a profile, it should switch profiles.
Yeah, it depends if her phone's there as well. We have the same thing. We have one car and two people drive it. I'm sorry, it's Joe here. I'm not putting my camera on. And yeah, so we have two phones. Sometimes we're both in the car with both phones. Sometimes one of us is in the car. So if there's only one phone in the car, it will recognize that person. If we both get in the car, then it's pot luck. Sometimes it chooses the right one, sometimes it doesn't. And we do have a main driver set, the main phone, but it doesn't always go to that either.
Yeah, we've had the same sort of experience really. Lindsay got in on her own this morning, and I wasn't in the car, but it was still selecting me as a profile, but it was her phone that actually unlocked the car. So I was a bit confused.
Your phone could be just nearby. Is your phone within range still though?
Oh, okay.
It would then still.
Go, Paul.
Yeah, so if my wife drives the car and then I get back in, then my phone unlocks, but then it'll just stay in the easy entry thing that I have. So I have to manually still have to change to my profile.
You can change that. You can set your phone key and tell it which profile to attach it to.
Yeah, like for normally when I get in, it's all right. It goes straight, put it in drive, it goes into my profile. But I notice when she drives it and then I get back in, it's in easy entry and then it doesn't flick back to mine. And once I hit manual, and then from that point, it's all right until she drives again. So
yes, but is she using a phone key?
No, just the key card.
Okay, make sure that
it's her then that got in.
Make sure that the key card is. Sorry, make sure your phone. Do you use your phone as a key?
Yeah.
Make sure your phone is not attached to that key card. Because I think you can have the phone key and the key attached together. So you need to separate them.
Yeah.
So you get your wife's proximity key set to her profile and your phone key set to your profile.
Oh, we have that.
So they're split. Because what it might be is that your phone key is attached to the RFID key, and they're both set to your profile. So then when your wife uses the card, she might click her profile, and then of course it then presumes that that's the new profile attached to the card, which is attached to your phone, possibly. It's a bit confusing, and I can't show it on that awesome thing I've done because I didn't get to that level of detail.
That's all right. I think we'll figure it out. We'll get there. The only other question I had, Harold, if I've got 2 seconds, is with the autopilot. Sometimes it seems to recognise the speed zone. If we're in a 70, it'll change automatically. Sometimes it doesn't do anything, and we have to manually change the zone. Occasionally, it actually picks up a school zone and it'll change it to a 40. But we went through a school zone today and it was still at 50. So I'm just confused as to whether we're doing something wrong or if the car's just having a bit of a moment.
Can I add to that question? Sorry, Rich, as well. I've noticed when you're coming out of Mandurah and you're coming onto the Kwinana, it will recognise out that 70 zone. And I've done nothing and I've been on normal cruise control autopilot. It'll recognise the 90 and then the 110 and it's sped up to the 110. But I haven't got enhanced autopilot, but it won't do it at other times.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's something I'm doing wrong.
No, I think we're getting the same thing essentially. So we don't have full self drive. We've just got the normal autopilot. but we have noticed on occasions it'll be on autopilot. We'll go into a change of speed zone. It'll automatically change and adjust the speed accordingly. But there are some occasions where we'll go down into a slower speed section, and we kind of luckily go, shit, we're still doing 20 k's over. We need to pull it down.
So there's a policy that the car's got this strange policy that if it's out of a major metropolitan region, such as a capital city or major city, it does not change the speed of the car while you're in autopilot or traffic aware cruise control automatically, even though it knows the speed is higher or lower. But if you're in a rural area or out of a metropolitan area, like little towns, it will quite happily, you can be cruising at 110. It then either optically sees the speed sign or the internal maps it has, the database says it's a new speed zone. It will dutifully slow down at each of those speed zones. You go through the town, and as you come out the other side, it will also automatically increase speed to the correct speed zones. And it's even clever enough that, say, if the highway speed limit is 110, but you've chosen to set your car at 100, it will slow down as it goes into town, and as it comes back out, it will resume the speed at that speed limit that you already had. So say if it's 110 is a speed limit, but you were doing 100 before, it will just resume speed back to 100.
Yeah.
But it only does that outside of the metropolitan area.
I wonder why it does that.
Well,
Harold, did you say that in a city or an urban environment, it only does one of the two? So it only increases or decreases?
No, it does neither. It neither increases nor decreases.
I'm sure it does.
Well, except for when it does. And like, for instance, I know that on the Manning Road off-ramp of the freeway, Kwinana Freeway, it does crazy things like you can go, it actually will increase the speed all by itself up to 100 k's an hour, which firstly is the incorrect speed limit, and it just shouldn't be doing it. So sometimes it does it for some strange reason, but it doesn't methodically do it in the metropolitan area.
Yeah.
In those circumstances where there's been an intervention, so if it's on autopilot and it's increased to an incorrect speed, let's say 100, and let's say it's 90, and you've had to manually bring it back down to 90, does that send that packet of information back to the Tesla, and for it to then automatically start learning that there's an issue there?
It hasn't done it for years, or should I say it hasn't worked for years. So there's a thing called a bug report where you can actually send a bug report. All that really does is it highlights a notification if they go and pull your logs. So if you want to complain about something, such as your car does a weird squeak going around a certain corner or something, if you press and do a bug report, it makes it easier for them to find that sort of incidents.
So it might actually be worth just doing that regardless then. If there's an intervention that we've found that we've had to do, to actually just do a bug report regardless.
Yeah, I don't know how far they go. They may all go to nowhere. And the bug report, obviously the text, you can't enter the text yourself. You have to just speak to the car. Yeah. And I've had bug reports where they've had hilarious interpretation of what I've said. I've done lots where it says, I've said, incorrect speed limit, the speed limit should be ... Yeah. And it's come out with some totally different gobbledygook that then gets submitted to Tesla.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
And you only get 30 seconds or 20 seconds or so. So you can't even try and speak too slow to try and give it a better chance of recognizing what you say.
There you go.
Run out of time.
And it's unlikely to send anything in on our current self-drive capabilities because he's got version 9 almost ready, which is totally different. It's a complete rewrite. So all we've had for months is some odd minor bug updates. We're not going to get anywhere. We're going to have to wait until we get the next major version.
When's on that point? When's the next software update?
It's only a week away.
4 weeks now.
Yeah, it's a week away.
We haven't had an update yet.
Always a week away.
I've been waiting for all these little gifts to turn up on Wi-Fi.
Just next week. Next week.
Hey, Rich.
Yeah.
How many kilometres are you up to now?
What have we done, Linda? Hang on. I've got a phone. It can tell me that. I think it's about 4,000. 4194.
I'm pretty much the same as you, just add another zero in the end. But
really?
Snap.
I think we're averaging about 1,000 kilometres a week at the moment.
But lurking here somewhere should be Rob as well, and he's past 220,000 on.
Back a bit, Howard. Back a bit. Back a little bit.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get it to. Actually, I don't want to show my VIN. Hang on, let me just. I've got 175,157.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
And Rob, what are you on?
3 million.
228,000.
How much?
228.
Oh, there you go.
Good job, Rob.
I feel like a wee virgin here. We're 161.
Is it normal to still be washing the car 3 times a week? That's what I want to know.
Well, Rich, I've had mine for 20 months and I still wash it several times a week.
Oh, that's good. I don't feel so bad now then.
But I've got OCD.
Yeah, same.
I've got a question, guys. It's end of financial year. It's the time to purchase some goodies before tax time ends. What are some of the best websites where we as TOCWA members get discounts to get accessories?
Firstly, you've got less than 3 hours for the end of the financial year, just quietly.
Plenty of time to go online shopping.
Yeah. The short answer is there are no websites that have discounts for TOCWA members, and feel free to actually ask them why not. The Tesla is actually, I've been spamming out emails about registering with Tesla to get a discount code for their online shop. And for everyone that's done that, they will be coming out soon, and it'll be the next few weeks. Although, mind you, they're only available for apparel. So it's not chargers or wall connectors or tires or snow chains or whatever, just apparel. But no, they're...
Harold?
Sorry, say again, Barry?
Is there a time limit? As you know, my mine has been put back and put back. I think I'm going to be getting mine on Saturday, but I need the code from the toolbox to be able to register.
Actually, you don't. Well, actually, it doesn't matter. No, it's okay. The time limit is the end of this year. So as long as you register before the end of this year, it'll be fine. So yeah, you can certainly wait until you get your VIN.
And that's the end of this calendar year, by the way.
Sorry, calendar year. Yes.
Well, I've already got the VIN. I've had that for ages. I just it said you had to enter the copy and paste the
referral code. Yes, that's what the form asks for. In all truth, you only need one of the 3 fields to be filled out, because the other 2 can be derived, because it's actually a human being that manually enters in this data, which is why it takes some time. And this gentleman's entered in thousands of codes, well, basically, processed thousands of codes. But yeah, it's Barry, since it's at the end of this calendar year, you've got plenty of time. So
cool.
Yeah. And again, it's only on apparel, so it's only clothing.
Yeah. I understood that from what you said last time.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed I will get it this Saturday though, 9 a.m.
Cool. It's a shame it hasn't come into this financial year's figures. Sorry, this quarter's figures. Sorry.
Good start for next quarter.
Say again, Nigel?
Good start for next quarter.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, there's actually a 4th ship coming. It's arrived in Port Kembla. Was it last week?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, so
it's going to be, it's going to have to be more than just 300 in the last month, and we've had nothing for 2 months. It's going to have to start becoming a little bit more regular, because otherwise, you know, next quarter they're going to have to deliver 500, and the quarter after, it's just going to get impossible.
Yes, and as soon as Tesla can stop this stupidity of quarterly results, it'll be a lot better for all of us.
Why do they do it? Is there a reason?
They do it because American companies live and die on quarterly results. And obviously what you want to do ideally is build your car and sell your car in the same quarter, so that then you realize all the profit and and the costs are offset by your sales. So you have no running inventory, no work in progress, transiting across quarters. Although having said that, all it ever does is it affects the one quarter where you started doing this, and after that you're in a steady state where it doesn't matter. But then the bean counters get onto efficiency and days of inventory, which Tesla already has world record low numbers of amount of inventory compared to all other car makers.
10 to 12 days, really, isn't it?
It's and most car manufacturers have 60 days or something like that. So Tesla is trying to sort of finesse, you know, anyway, it's a quarterly thing. You know.
So, Harold, can I, some months ago, remember I said about the reverse parking was shite with the, and you said, oh, try parallel parking. Well, I did. And I tell you what, it's bloody marvelous. I went into Mandurah and I went to go to a shop, which was a factory unit, and the 4 spaces out the front were blocked, and there were 6 spaces down the small lane. 3 parallel parked one side, 3 parallel parked the other. There was one woman in the middle, parallel parked on the left, trying to get out, and she was having difficulty because the actual parking bays were not huge. But you could have fitted a Ford Transit down between the 2 lines of cars, and that would have been it. So I thought, well, there's one right in the middle on the right. So I went down the lane, did a 6-point turn because it was, it was terrible. And I drove up alongside and I went to reverse in, and the thing came up and I go, hold on a moment. Harold said parallel parking's brilliant. Go. And I took my hand off, and I'll tell you what, it was bloody brilliant.
It is.
It just went, I thought that this is going to be hard. And it just went back in, forwards a foot and stopped. And I go, okay.
And it does it fairly fast too, doesn't it?
Yeah. I was about to stuck my foot on the brake because it was very narrow and tight, and it came very close to the car in front, and it was only about 5 centimeters from the car behind.
Yeah.
And it pulled forward a foot, and that was it.
It tests your resolve, that's for sure. But it does a brilliant job. You're right.
So you're right, Harold.
That's great. That's great. On that, actually, I also got my full what you call the whatever the feature, and then I was trying to do that reverse parallel parking too. Actually, you expect to get some sort of parking signal, isn't it? When you pass a particular spot, until then you can't do anything. Correct?
Yes. Well, you'll see a little when you. Well, I don't know if you have to have an indicator on, but you have the indicator on. No. You go past the bay.
Mm-hmm.
And with or without indicator, and as you're creeping slowly and you sort of put your foot on the brake, you'll actually see the P symbol come up on your screen, and then you just tap on start.
There's a blue button that says start.
Yeah,
it's fairly prominent.
Right.
This is only on the full self-drive cars, guys, is it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Rich.
That's
should have gone and got it.
that'll only cost you $10,100 today.
Yeah. And the other thing also, actually, when I was driving, it's the first time I drove this one, and then actually suddenly the blue colors, the meter, entire meter actually became sort of blue color suddenly, and I could not read any any text or any signals other than that, because I was a bit panicking into what's going on here. And then after that, actually turned into red again. So, and then stop. Then it says a message came saying that I have to manually take over. I'm not sure what has happened, whether anyone has any experience of getting these color changes on the dashboard.
Were you using self-drive or autopilot?
Yes, so self-drive. Self-drive.
Every now and then, which is about every 10, 15 seconds, depending upon the conditions in the road and the speed you're traveling,
right,
it will come up with a little message at the bottom of the screen saying, jiggle the steering wheel, or words to that effect,
Mhm.
a turning force.
Yes, yes.
If you just sit there and do nothing,
Uh-huh.
the screen will start flashing blue at the top.
Okay.
And if you do nothing, it will start flashing red and it will get very upset with you. And if you still do nothing, it's going to put on the hazard lights and stop.
Right.
And
right.
you cannot use the autopilot again until you've put the car in park and stopped it.
This is exactly what has happened to me.
Yeah, you've got to jiggle the steering wheel about every 10 seconds.
Ah, okay. Thank you.
What you can do is if you put your, I put my elbow on the top of the door sill, whatever you call it, and just sort of just hold the steering wheel just lightly.
Right.
Like just a little bit of minor, just a minor bit of pressure, a little bit of weight.
Right.
And
like a half full bottle of Powerade.
just hang a little beanbag over the steering wheel on one. Oh, sorry.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that tip.
Or you can also touch the right scroll wheel, which will do the same thing.
Say it again. Sorry.
If you touch the right scroll wheel,
yeah,
then it'll be happy. It knows you're there.
Okay.
I read something on a forum yesterday, and I actually tried it, and it might be worth just mentioning for new owners. Depending on what car you come from, the indicator stalk might have been on the opposite side. So your indicator stalk might have been on the drive selector side, and it was slightly unnerving actually. So we came up to an intersection and used the drive selector to turn right, to indicate right, and it automatically put on the cruise control, which then proceeded to accelerate me through into the intersection. So that
if you were going the other way, if you were going the other way, you could have inadvertently put it into reverse too. Rather than accelerating forward, you would have been going back the other way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually wrote an email to Tesla about that.
Yeah, right. Well, it was to me. I read it and I thought, I don't know if it would do that, but it
actually,
there's a
recall. Tesla has done a recall in China of X 100,000 Model 3s and Ys.
280,000.
Yes, except of course the fine print says that none of those cars have to be returned to Tesla because they're going to do a software update, and that's to actually warn that you've engaged traffic aware cruise control by mistake. Potentially by mistake.
I was trying to figure out how they're going to do that, whether it's under a certain speed.
All it does is it'll give, you know how when you engage autopilot, it goes, it's like a USB being put into a computer, it goes like ding ding.
Yep.
And then when you undo it or cancel it,
goes the opposite way.
The opposite sort of little riff. So for traffic aware cruise control, you'll do a single ding. So it'll be a high ding when you engage it and a low ding when you disengage it.
Yeah.
So at least you'll be warned. In my car, the Model X, it actually is different. When you use the wrong stalk to indicate, it actually puts the car in neutral. And then, which then when you put your foot down, well, you sort of wonder why you're slowing down. And when you put your foot down, rather than the car revving like an ICE car would in neutral, just nothing happens.
Doesn't do anything.
And then you look at the screen and you realize it's in neutral.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it is a common problem. And, if I was King of Australia, I would mandate that
you are, Harold.
In a right-hand drive car, the indicator should be on the right-hand side of the steering wheel, or else.
Yeah.
you know, but unfortunately, European cars have gotten away with it, imported cars forever. And the silly Australian design rules have never mandated that the indicators are on the outside of the car.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's fine if you have two cars and you drive two cars and they're both on the right or both on the left. But we've got, well, two EVs and a petrol car, and the two EVs are on the left-hand side and the petrol car's on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
So if we've been out on holidays with the caravan or what have you, and I've been driving one car, yeah, it's just a mental thing. But Tesla has at least solved this for the new Model S and the Model X's, in that they've got
no stock
altogether. So and the manual. So first of all, it will do it automatically, ideally. But if you have to override it, there's to go right, you press the top one, and to go left, you press the bottom one.
Yes.
On the left-hand side, there's a indicator, and it gives you haptic feedback, a bit like your iPhone does. So,
I don't know how it does haptic. I don't know how it tells you that it's going to the left or right, unless it feels like your thumb's being dragged sort of to the right as you press it. I don't know how they do that.
It will probably just be one little zzz as you touch it. No matter which way you're turning, it'll just vibrate once for you.
Just so you know you put it on. Yeah.
It just goes to show that it's just another skill you have to learn to prove that you're able to drive these things. You know, I think it was it the Diesel dude, the Rudolph Diesel, that surmised that there were only about 1 million people in the entire world that were competent enough to drive cars back in 19.
And he was right.
He's probably right.
I think Richard's got a mod for this, Harold.
I did have a friend who's got a Tiguan, and her husband bought it, but she only has a right hand that works, so she's got one of these things, these things you put on the steering wheel to turn the wheel, you know.
The steering.
But she couldn't use her indicator, so I made a little aluminium post that attached to the left indicator stalk, went over the top, so she could use the right hand to indicate. So there you go. Done.
Great idea.
It's been done.
See, Jared, you were right. Richard is the man.
He's the man. He's the man.
Actually, speaking of only some people being able to drive cars, David Edinburgh has never driven a car apparently in his life, doesn't have a driver's license.
Wow. See, and he's a total failure.
I've actually got a cousin. She's incredibly smart. She used to always, you know, in primary and high school, she would win all these national maths comps, and just naturally, she's a researcher, a biomedical researcher, but she's always struggled to drive, and even to this day, she's always. I try to teach her. Her husband's tried to teach her, and she really struggles. So it's just one of those things.
She should be right at home on Australian roads then.
Terrible.
Harold.
Yes.
I want to talk about Jurien Bay Charger.
Yes, Rob.
Okay. Jurien Bay, like a lot of chargers in the state, people, they absolutely have to read the instructions before they get there. Because if your car doesn't charge at Jurien Bay, it's basically your fault. Now, the proprietor of Jurien Bay, he gets a few comments from people saying the charger doesn't work, the charger's faulty, when it's actually the car's problem. But generally, it's the person that's charging the car's got the problem. They're not reading the instructions correctly. And on top of that, the Plan B at Jurien Bay, which is the foreshore, is no longer available because they've dug it up. They're redeveloping the foreshore.
Yes, that's right. They literally are digging it up, so there is no three-phase outlet anymore.
Do we know? Does anyone know if there's plans for a charger once it's been redeveloped?
No.
So no, we don't know, or no, there isn't plans.
No, there's no plans. There's a guy on the Chamber of Commerce, as I spoke to you the other day, David Shadbolt.
Yes.
For 5 years, he's been pushing the Shire to put a charger in there. Yeah. And their basically reasoning is someone else can pay for it. And now there's one at Caltex, they've got less reason to put a charger in. So the critical thing is, if you go to Jurien Bay, I really wouldn't go there with less than 50 kilometres of charge left in your battery. So if Jurien Bay ever does fail, you can get to Cervantes and get a charge in your car. And also when you drive those roads, it's the hardest road to drive on as far as range goes. It's always windy and the road surface is really bad. So don't look at your range and say, I've got 250 k's to get to Jurien Bay. That's not a problem. You'll use it all up before you get there.
Especially if you're going south, southerly direction. So say from Geraldton, because you'll punch into a sou'wester, which can really be strong headwinds.
That's exactly it. And
have you taken off that no longer existent charger point on PlugShare?
It's unrestricted, isn't it?
Yeah, it's currently as restricted, but if that really truly no longer exists, it should just be deleted, Rob. So I'm happy to send PlugShare an email to say, look, let's just get rid of it. If it's not coming back, there's no point having it. Even it's not restricted. It's non-existent.
Yeah, I think that's the best option. Yeah, we'll get rid of it completely.
Yeah, cool. And also, by the way, the Jurien Bay Tourist Park, that's not functional either. According to a post, John Snow. No, sorry, Darren Arndt. Definitely broken.
But John got it to work.
All the more reasons for a June lockdown.
It says here also the park management said that it's not working at the moment, but the green light is on. Oh, so he took the photo. Well, that's interesting. I mean, the point too is that this was only ever, because I actually checked in here a long time ago. And when I went, it was 16 amps, single phase. So it's a very slow charge. So yes, there you go. So yeah, watch out for Jurien Bay. And I think the main point that Rob was making about the Caltex is they've had issues where people have, the thing is this charger is powered off a what is it, veg oil yet, Rob, or is it still diesel?
Yes,
no, it's used vegetable oil.
Yeah.
It is oil? Okay, so it's actually not that simple to start. They've got to use Aero Start and they've got to warm it up. They have to expend some labor in actually getting this thing started. And what's happened in the past was one or two drivers have done the calculations and worked out they only need, 5 kilowatt hours to make it to their next destination. So they've just put 5 kilowatt hours. And of course, that represents, a couple of dollars of revenue, which they've already expended, several times that in the labor required to service this thing, as in, get it started and get it stopped and charging for it. So obviously that's where you've got like a minimum service charge, which I think was
$25.
$25. Unfortunately, I think some EV owners have been using it as a bit of a, let's just get the minimum, because they've got to pay for it, let's just get the minimum amount of juice out of it just to get to the next place. Whereas other people are using it as, well, I need to get to Geraldton, in a reasonable amount of time, and I don't want to mess around. So for most of us, it's a really critical bit of infrastructure, but for some, it's sort of a grudging, let's just top up a little bit just to get to the next place for free. And that sort of spoils, the minority can spoil it for the majority. And unfortunately, as Rob has alluded to several times in the past, a lot of Western Australia's charging infrastructure is actually degrading. So there are places that you can't charge now that you could a few years ago. and that's making it a lot harder to get up and down this state. Notwithstanding all the other issues we've got going on. So what we don't want to do is make more and more places, more EV, well, if not hostile, but EV sort of reluctant because of the unfortunate behaviour of, some owners. But anyway, rant over. But yeah, obviously,
It's true. Without that Jurien charger, any trip up north would be, it'd just be a completely different story.
Yes, well, when I went around Australia a few years ago, Jurien Bay wasn't there, as in the fast DC charger wasn't there, and Tokwa's Geraldton DC charger wasn't there either. So my first day to get from Perth to Carnarvon, it's 907 kilometres, and it took me 7 hours and 5 minutes of sitting by the side of my car while charging it in the daytime. So, I left at 5 a.m. and got to Carnarvon at 7:30 p.m. or 8 p.m. And I had to, basically charge my car for over 7 hours by the side of the road. Having Jurien Bay and Geraldton probably would have cut that time by at least 2 hours, maybe 3 hours, probably 3 hours, which is a huge difference. Possibly more, possibly actually more, maybe 5 hours. Oh no, probably 3 or 4 hours.
Well, when we went to Kalbarri, we charged only at the Tokwa charger in Geraldton and the Jurien Bay charger, and we were about 40, 50 minutes on each, and that's all we needed. So that was 2 hours. So maybe, 5 hours, possibly.
Well, when I was in Geraldton charging on the AC charger, I had so much time that I could walk from basically the coast to the swimming pool, which is a fair bit inland, on foot, then bash out 20 laps or a kilometre in swimming in the pool, have a shower, get changed, walk back to the car, and there was still time left.
Just tell me you were checking your app to see if it was still charging, if it hadn't dropped out.
Oh no, we've already had that story of that's right. Always check that your car is actually charging, because you don't want to get back to it and realize that all that 2 hours that you're away, that it hasn't actually got anything. Yes, always check your apps.
Just a quick thought, guys, on charging etiquette. We've only had the car for 4 weeks, and Mandra's a pretty small place. But I've had about 6 people already come up to us while we've either been in the street having a coffee or charging at the RAC charger, asking about them and really interested and keen and looking at getting them. And they know nothing about charging. And even there's 2 guys that were actually picking cars up that didn't know anything about this charging etiquette. And I'm learning as we're going along. Is there any benefit to having some kind of charging etiquette handout or something that Tesla themselves can give to owners when they pick up their cars, so that the information's out there early?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, there's no chance Tesla will create such a document, but that's something that we certainly can do, and perhaps post it on our website.
If ever in doubt, do unto others as you would have others do unto you. So, yeah.
So imagine, you're at a petrol station, and I remember doing this in the old days, where you'd feel your car would be full and there's someone behind you, so you'd actually drive and park in a parking bay. And of course, sometimes the petrol station attendant may think you're doing a runner, but you're not. You're just parking your car out of the way to simply go and pay. And that's a matter of 90 seconds. So the same sort of thing applies with your EV. As soon as you've finished charging, you really need to move your car.
Yeah, we had a couple of occasions where we've headed to a charger, and on the app it's free and clear. When you get there, someone's in it, and they haven't actually logged in, or sort of.
Oh, so you mean on PlugShare?
Yeah. So just sort of in terms of when I talk about etiquette, what I mean is using the apps correctly to show others that it's either in use or that you're going to be there for a short time or that sort of thing.
Okay, so that's a good point. So in PlugShare, you can actually check in, and you can say that you're charging now. And I think depending on what phone platform you have or the way you've configured your app, there's like a default time, which I think is either half an hour or an hour.
An hour.
It's 15 minutes on Samsung.
Right. So there's varying times, and you can actually edit that yourself, and you can change it. Now, it's a great thing to do if people want to do that. And PlugShare is a great source of information. It shows where all the pins are. It's a social networking platform. So it has great information. And yes, it is very useful when people do check in. But on the other hand, when you go to a petrol station, no one, for instance, when it's Cheap Tuesdays, no one checks in on Dinosaur Juice Share app and say, I'm at the Woolies, Caltex, whatever it is, Woolies thingy, now on Ranford Road, and there's a line of 50 cars around the corner blocking the road. Yes, it's convenient if everyone uses it, but it's absolutely optional. So
there's always the need to share app.
Yeah.
Which one's that?
It's needs to charge. Needs to charge.com.
Need to charge. You register there. You download a little PDF which has got a QR code, and you can leave that in the windscreen, and people can scan it and then send you a message.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
That's it, Barry.
But Barry's showing his. Yeah.
That's the one, and you just leave that in your car window when you're charging, if you've got an EV. All they need to do is go to that one, put in your rego, and it'll tell you, hey, I need to share. But they also give you a load of these. Hang on, see if I can.
Back a bit. Oh, yeah.
There you go. Which, if you try putting someone's rego into the app and they're not registered, you can just drop one of these on their windscreen and say, hey, why don't you sign up?
Good idea.
Yeah, I've got the need to charge thing in my windscreen, and I register on PlugShare all the time. But there are people, certainly up here in Baldivis, who will park there for hours and not register on PlugShare. I leave one of those need to charge things, and the next time they're there, not on PlugShare, no need to charge. They've just plugged in for 2 or 3 hours. Those sorts of people are just selfish idiots.
One of the other things with it's got to be reminded to people continuously is the destination charges, the Tesla destination charges, do not belong to Tesla. They belong to the people that own the site and pay for the electricity. For instance, Kent Street in Rockingham is owned by the city of Rockingham, and they pay for the electricity. And a lot of the new owners think that Tesla are paying for the electricity, and they just sit there and they sit there and watch Netflix. They don't go and spend any money in town. They don't go and buy a coffee or anything. And that has to be reminded to people, because if that continues, those charges will get removed. I have no doubt about it. I've talked to some of these owners of these chargers. They just, they've put a charger in, hopefully that people will go and use their spot, not just to gain free electricity.
Yeah, it's a good point, Rob. I know at Baldivis, there's one guy, he does register on PlugShare, and he parks there for 4 hours. So if he's getting 11 kilowatts, he's filling up. Yeah, 4 hours. And I actually messaged him once. I said, you've still got 3.5 hours to go. And he goes, yeah, I'll be back then.
Nigel, there's a guy in Joondalup that parks his car and then walks to the train station and goes to work. Leaves his car parked there all day.
That's just plain rude.
Yeah, that's rude.
I mean, I go to the Baldivis Shopping Centre very frequently, and I'm plugging in for 15 minutes, 30 minutes. It would be an hour at most. And I occasionally go to the one in Rockingham, but that's only because I'm either going to the market there or I'm going to the Dome.
Yeah, I spend plenty of money in Baldivis to justify that one. Always spending loads in Kmart.
Anyway, that guy won't be parking there for 4 hours to get his 44% because it's only dishing out 6 amps at the moment. So he's getting 3 to 4 kilowatts. So he's not going to be getting very much.
You know, Nigel, he's got a 17 kilowatt onboard charger.
No, it's a Model 3.
Is a Model 3? I thought you were talking about a white Model S.
No, not the other one. No.
Yeah, no.
This is a darker coloured Model 3. And he has been known to spend 4 hours there.
What do you do for 4 hours in a shopping centre?
No, he probably disappears off and goes and does something.
There are some people that I know of that have a little scooter, and they'll in the boot, so they'll hop on their scooter and they'll just leave their car parked and hop on their
That's that white Model S you're talking about.
Yep.
And others. There are others as well.
There's one I saw a few weeks ago that had parked their car and they went home. And there was actually, luckily there was 2 destination charges there, and we came out and the thing was still sitting there ages later, not plug shared anything. So, you know, eventually what happens is the owners just remove the charges. They did it at Alkimos. They removed the Tesla charges there.
Yep, exactly right. So you'll get the tragedy of the commons, where people, if they abuse the asset, it'll just get deprecated.
On a chargers note, I don't know if many of you guys are in Mandurah. We actually had the car tinted at Tintercar in Mandurah. They did a great job. And he's actually expressed an interest in installing a charger, a solar-based charger at their location, to do the right thing, but also to attract people in as well. And they're looking at maybe getting one of their business vehicles. So yeah, he's expressed an interest about putting an on-site charger at Tintercar and Mandurah, which could be useful. I know
if you go on the Tesla website, there is actually a thing where you can actually send them an expression of interest to host a destination charger.
Right.
So it's on Tesla's main website.
There you go, Alex. Put an expression of interest in, then you can get one at your place of work.
That's a good idea, Nigel. We'll have to look into that one.
So you go to charging, and where you park,
recommend a location.
Work. I think it was, sorry, it's not where you park, it's destination charging upon arrival. And you can then no, sorry. I should have rehearsed this. Partner with Tesla.
There it is. Yeah.
Partner with Tesla. So, no, that's the installer.
Is this for Harold? Is this for a destination charger? You can choose what type of.
It's changed. Recharge at your destination. Here we go.
Hey, Harold, I wonder if they've taken that off because they're no longer.
No, charging. Here we go. Charging partners. No, learn more. So it's charging partners. You click on learn more. And once that refreshes on this awesome interwebs, becoming a charging partner. So you've got hospitality and retail, multifamily or workplace. And you can suggest a charging site, and it's whether you're the business owner, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
And then
Okay,
you've
so look
got
at that.
the proposed charging site. And in fact, if you had a large site, you could even suggest a supercharger hosting site.
Is there, well, just as a quick question, because I don't know, purely from a point of ignorance, is there a benefit to the business doing this as opposed to installing their own, sort of personally going to like mPower, let's say, and then having something installed without going through Tesla? Is there a benefit to doing it through the Tesla site?
Well, I think Tesla still will provide 2 free destination charges to what they would call worthy sites, which are mainly those, like for instance, if you're in a location where there are no other chargers, which is really like a town somewhere, if it's Perth, it's probably less likely that they would donate the destination charges. But actually, as a plain old EVSE, which stands for electric vehicle service equipment, so a charger, for $780, they're actually pretty well priced.
That's a high powered wall charger, isn't it?
A high power wall connector, yeah, HPWC. Now, in fact, with the the third generation high power wall connectors or the chargers with the Wi-Fi connection, they actually have the ability in the future to actually charge customers for power, or Tesla owners for the power that they're consuming. So the deal up to now has been that, well, in the past, Tesla would provide the charger and install it for nothing. And the deal was that that charger was to be freely available to your customers. So if that was a hotel, it would be, people staying at the hotel, or if it was a restaurant, people having dinner or lunch or whatever, or using your business. And the deal was that the charging was supposed to be for free. But I think Tesla's now moderated that, or they're not insisting on that, because, for instance, at Merredin, I think the Merredin Tourist Centre, run by the council, were charging for charging, even though it was a Tesla destination charger, which ought not be there ought not be a fee for it for customers. But I guess for a visitor centre, they just figured that you're a customer by definition if you pay the money for charging.
Harold, on that, the destination charges go on the car's maps. That's a benefit to the business because it's also got what other services they got there. In saying that, sometimes the destination charge is not always on the car's maps. Last week we found that Kalbarri, Northampton, and Warramel weren't on the maps, even though those charges are in place.
Yep.
So it's not always perfect. And also, there's a destination charger on the car's maps for Halls Creek, and I can tell you there's not one there.
Yeah, so can I.
It's not always perfect.
Actually, Rob, what we'll do is we'll send Tesla an email and ask them to fix that, as in remove Halls Creek and add Kalbarri, Warramul, and others, because it's just a matter of them updating their database.
Yeah.
And you're right, Rob. I mean, I've stayed in places on the Eastern Seaboard, specific, and mind you, a lot of the hotels you stay at with destination charges are quite expensive. Make no mistake. And I've only gone there because I could charge my car overnight because that was convenient. Especially since for me, time was of the essence to get my car fully charged overnight while I was sleeping, rather than having to, do it during the daytime. So yeah, that is the other benefit, Rich, is you do get your destination charger on the car's map.
Yeah. I think that's the point he was making, really, because he really started inquiring about it. I think he's had about 10 Model 3s down in there, and it's starting to sort of generate real interest. And if we can encourage people to come here and see us, then that's good for the business.
Well, what you do is on your screen, you just click on the little lightning bolt icon on the map.
Yep.
And that that will then show all the nearby destination charges and also the supercharger.
You just taught me something there.
Oh, cool. Okay. Well, yeah. So
yeah, Lindsay, quick.
So normally you see a map like this, and you'll actually this is a loan car from Tesla, so it doesn't have premium connectivity. So normally you would see a thing that looks like a globe, like the world in latitude and longitude, which is your satellite or aerial photo image.
Yep.
And the next icon looks like a basic traffic light, which gives you the traffic conditions, whether it's congestion or whether it's congested.
I didn't even know that.
But in this car, because it's a loan car, it hasn't got premium connectivity. It only has this symbol here, which is your charging one.
Right.
And just make sure you've got all three lightning bolts shown, like the single, the double, and the triple.
What do they mean, Harold?
They sort of loosely mean charging speed.
Okay.
But it's best just to have them all shown because it just shows everything. And in WA, we've only got one supercharger and everything else is slow.
Yep.
Bearing in mind that all these listed here are destination charges, so they're AC charges, but it always seems to show the solitary supercharger. And see how it's got the number 6? That actually means there are 6 stalls available to charge at.
Okay.
So that on the lower left-hand corner, that always shows the number of available stalls.
So if 4 cars were to plug in there,
that would show 2.
That number's going to reduce.
That would show 2.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
So there you go. Peter, Taryn.
Right, I'm on. Look, I just got a few quick ones because I didn't have a chance last time. I just had to. This is on the way to from Bunbury to Mandurah at night, and this Roo is just sitting right in the middle of the road, just looking at me. I think autopilot might have braked, but anyway, I braked sort of comfortably. It wasn't sort of a big issue, and then sort of scrabbled around to get my phone and take a picture of the Roo as it sort of hopped off on its merry way. So that's the first thing.
So did you? I mean, I would have probably swerved several times before I hit it. Surely.
110. It was it was actually sitting in the middle of the road, so the lights were fine. A good headlight, high beam, no problem. If it jumped out across the road, that may have been a different issue. But so that's that one. Now the second thing I'm going to show is it wasn't. Oh, sorry. The actual top of this. I didn't realize I was going to get cut off. It basically says, and if you thought smoking it at a pump was risky or something like that,
It's underwater, isn't it?
Well watered. Super. I don't know where it was, but it was actually sent to me by a friend. It wasn't even a car person, but it's.
I do, Peter. I know that's in the UK. That's a supercharger site in England or the UK. That regularly floods. It's actually on a floodplain. Tesla got a cheap lease on some land, and they got it cheap for a reason.
I'm assuming that's got like a safety cutout system there somewhere.
Yes, yeah, they do. Yes.
Otherwise,
the actual anyway, you get the idea there anyway. The next one is. I didn't realize this, but when the car's stationary, you know how if you push the button to open the hood, open the boot or the front or whatever, you know, it goes up and you open the door. I didn't actually realize the steering wheel moved. The wheels move when you turn the steering wheel. Does anyone? I presume everyone knows that, but I didn't.
No.
What's that, Peter?
When you get the image of the car, you know, so you can open up the front and the picture shows the doors opening and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
When you so when I can't really show you, but
so what you're saying is the wheels are also animated, aren't they?
you turn the steering wheel when you're stationary, and the actual wheel on that avatar image moves. It turns.
Oh, right. I never noticed that.
You do know, Pete, that, or everyone, that when you put the brakes on, the actual
The lights come on.
the lights come on and actually glows on the ground, like it shows like a reflection of the brake lights.
Yeah, especially in night mode, you can see it a bit easier.
The windows as well actually move.
Really?
Yeah, if you put your window down, the window actually goes down.
All right.
Yeah, learned something new.
There you go.
Now, this next lady has got something which I think who has done something which I think you would all. Sorry, I can't get a picture. It's a lady I saw last night for a few hours as I wander around. No, she does genealogy, and I sort of am a genealogy person, so we had a. But the thing about her is I mentioned something about electric cars. She sort of seemed to know a little bit about it. And the son is an engineering student. He didn't need a bit. So, but anyway, so I mentioned something, and she said Nürburgring. I said, what? She said, oh yeah, I've been on the Nürburgring. About 20 years ago, she went on. She was as a passenger in a BMW. I don't know what they have sort of times
ring taxi,
and yeah. So I thought it's that was oh, what was your time? This is. Oh, she couldn't remember the time, unfortunately, but she said she was in just a standard seatbelt, just sliding all over the place, really sort of really holding her in very well. So they must have been getting a few G-forces there. But anyway, I thought that was an interesting little aside. And now the other thing, I went to Perth the other, and I had again seeing someone at genealogy, going to a conference, seeing someone in genealogy, leaving about 1 in the morning. To going up to Perth at full charge. And I went to Mandurah and I couldn't get there. And eventually I sort of got my wife she was in Albany. I got her to dial into it, and I got it, but it was half an hour late to get to thing. So that was very unsatisfactory. I spent ages there for nothing. I got eventually I wanted to get a charge out towards Midland way, and we went to Mazda dealer there. Said, oh, the person who runs this sort of they're taking the card home. They're still open at that stage. So that one didn't work. Went to the Swan Council, and they don't have actually a Tesla attachment. They've got two charging things there. But there's CHAdeMO and something else, and neither of those workable, even with the cables I had. I went to Dodds, which is said to be 24 hours, but in fact it's actually got a big sliding.
It's only during business hours, Peter.
Was it? Yeah, I think it said 24 hours on my way out. That's why I went there, and I drove around and I sort of couldn't see the thing, and I thought, is it outside somewhere? I drove to the place next door, and I sort of, because that's where the actual centered, even though it wasn't Dodds. And it's a great big trucking firm. There's about 100 trucks in there. I sort of drove in there, and I thought, this doesn't.
Yeah, that's next door.
And then there's only one place to go. That is right through the whole thing, and past all these trucks and things moving. Anyway, so
that's my car there.
It was yeah. So that was that took another sort of half an hour.
So what time was that, Andy? Oh, sorry, Rich.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Pete. Harold's just picked up a picture of Ross's in Guildford. That was late at night.
So it was open.
Yeah. We've actually been there a couple of times now late at night, because we took Lindsay to work in Midland, and went across there. Would have been. Oh,
because you wanted.
What time did we pick you up?
Sorry, I thought Peter was talking about the Forestfield side, the Dodds City Dodd Forestfield side, the scrap metal side.
Oh, sorry, Pete. So which place, which Dodds place did you go to?
Yeah, that was the recycling place.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
It's the Forestfield one.
No, it's not.
Yeah. So there was one here.
Yeah, that's probably right. Yeah, CD Dodd. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so that is shut during out of hours. Yeah. But had you gone to Ross's Discount, which is in Midland, so you obviously went to the City of Swan.
Yeah, but I had to go out a bit further, and I think I went to anyway. But the long and short, so I went to Dodds and sort of got nowhere there. Eventually, I went to Riverdale because I had to get back to Perth City. I went to Riverdale Tavern, there are 2 chargers there. I thought, oh, beauty, thank God for that. You know, this is now 3 a.m. in the morning. I went there and there's 2 chargers there. I thought, great, you know, there's no one else there. I didn't have to buy a beer because there's no one there. And I tried one side, it didn't work, you know, it sort of just closed my charge port and you know, just shone a white light there. So I don't know. Anyway, I tried the other side and it didn't work. Same thing, you know, tried back and forth, this, that, and the other. Couldn't get them to work. Thought, oh, you know, gee, I'm gonna have to sort of limp back to Perth and sort of get. But anyway, I got my car, I was ready to go, and I looked at the app again and said, last person said, well, you know, it actually, you know, I had to try it twice to get a charge. I thought, oh, I'll just give one more try, and it worked. I don't know why, but anyway.
So is that cute? Was that the Cudale Tavern, Peter?
Cudale Tavern, yeah.
Cudale Hotel had a problem.
Yeah. Okay. So for next time, because you went to Midland, right, over here.
Yeah. Well, the Cities One hasn't got a Tesla thing that I can tell. Anyway, I
no. Well, they've got. I think it's CCS1, so it doesn't fit into your car.
Yeah.
But just down the road, at Ross's Discount Home Centre in James Street, right? Which is just in Guildford, so it's not very far.
Yeah.
That's a 50 kilowatt Tritium that Rich, you know, he's charged. There's no access gate or anything like that. That's open 24/7.
Yeah.
So, and
Hey, we actually used that one 2 or 3 times now, and it was giving us 275 kilometers an hour, something like that.
Because you've got a performance, haven't you, Rich?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if it's an SR Plus, you'll actually get 300 k's an hour.
Yeah, awesome.
But even, you know, 270 is still great too.
Worked every time. We've been there late at night usually, and very first thing in the morning. And it's on all those, I think 2 or 3 occasions, it's been brilliant, really good.
Yeah. I was going to just, I heard you talking about Dodds before, and it was really, really good, and they had. But anyway, obviously I should have gone to Ross's thing.
Yes, yeah. Next time, Pete, go to Ross's because it's open 24/7.
Anyway, I had a couple of hours sleep at the tavern and in the car, and then went off to my lectures in the morning at 6 o'clock back to. So, and then when I got back to Mandurah, that's right. So this is the 5th one. When I got back to Mandurah, so I really had to charge there, and I got there and you know, it wouldn't work, of course, and my wife, in fact, wasn't available, and I reinstalled my app, my app for ChargeBox, I think, and it worked.
Yeah, cool.
But you know, I spent a lot of time there as well. So in that whole thing, and then I got back to Eton Supercharged, and I was fine. The whole thing cost me $3 for my entire trip there and back, because of free charging at Rivervale and there's a supercharger, I guess, but anyway, no, superchargers are free because I've got a referral. So yeah, $3 for the whole trip, and a ton of aggravation, and a lot of sleeping in the car a couple of times, and anyway.
Well, and that's the thing.
Axe and pillows.
You've got to weigh up cost, like how much cost is your time?
Yeah.
And you know that's the issue.
I'm a doctor. $3 for half a 6 hours aggravation. Fine. Yeah. No. Yeah. Good.
So, Rich, do you
Yes,
know
mate.
that Ken at Silk Tie's got a charger installed now?
Yeah, it's there's a running joke with me and Ken at the moment. We seem to I'm finding every excuse under the sun to just go out and drive, and every time I go out, we bump into each other, and he's convinced I'm stalking him at the minute.
I see him buzzing around Mandurah too at the moment too.
Yeah, no, he's actually it's a pretty good system there. I think he charges 30 cents a kilowatt if you're not a patron. There's just a key code, like a padlock to get in, and if you're eating or drinking there, then it's free. So and it's quicker. Would I be right in saying he said it's quicker than the ROC charger that's currently on AC only down the road?
Yeah. It won't be quicker. It'll be the same.
It's same, yeah, 11 kilowatts.
It's great that Ken from Silk Tie said it's the best charger in town on his check-in. That's awesome. He's not at all biased.
Not at all.
So that's up and working now, is it? So Cairns is up and running?
Yes.
Yes, good. What is
The Gen 3, Harold, that can put out 22 kilowatts, can it?
Yes, but your car can only absorb 11 of it.
All right.
So there's a code 5007,
Hmm.
which I presume you want it to be publicised because it's on the Blake share.
Yeah, you got to take your own Type 2 cable if you're not eating in there, but he does have now a Type 2 cable that I think inside that he can loan.
Yeah, cool. Cool.
On the charging note, and just to try and perhaps get a level of interest, maybe in some people could spare me some emails or messages. We did the EV Meets thing in Mandurah last week, which was good. There's a bit of a good turnout. And we actually had Rhys Williams, the mayor, and the deputy mayor have a sit in the car and loved it and had a really good chat. Couldn't get the deputy mayor out. She fell in love with it and wanted to take it away. But the mayor's left me his number. He wants me to contact him and take him out for a drive and have a chat to him about, new ownership of EVs, etc. And I took opportunity just to sort of say, is there an option to have a chat with you about charging options around Mandurah and some of the benefits that we could perhaps bring to the town by encouraging EV owners in from all around different parts of Perth. And he's willing to have a listen. So if anyone, I'm going to have an audience with the mayor essentially in my car at some point in the next few weeks. If anyone's got anything they'd like to, any questions or what have you, then fire them at me, and I could bring them up in the topic of conversation when we go out for a drive.
One thing you can point out, Rich, is that there were studies done. I can't, unfortunately, point to anyone in particular, but I'm sure if you just Google it on the internet, that showed that people with an EV tend to spend longer in the shops if they're charging. And because a lot of the shopping centres, they get their revenue from it's linked to the shops takings.
Yes.
Then it's in their direct benefit. It's a bit like offering free Wi-Fi.
Yeah, that's right. And I noticed actually the charger in the forum at Mandurah, I don't think is working at the moment. Would I be right in saying?
No, they do work. It's two Type 1 chargers that are controlled by Centrepoint, which is no longer in Australia. So you've got to have a card. It doesn't work on the app. And then when I use that, I go in there, tap the card, it eventually unlocks, and then I use a 1 to 2 cable to attach it to my car. And you get 7 kilowatts out of that.
Because my thought would be that the forum is pretty much a focal point in Mandurah. And people come from all over the place to go to the forum, not least the locals. My kids and Mrs. spent ages in the forum. That in itself could be a destination charger there somewhere in the car park.
Or two.
Well, several, yeah, but it's big enough. It's a huge car parking facility with a significant sort of shopping centre. So and knowing how many people are actually.
Well, the fact that now you've got so many Teslas in Mandurah, and then there's 3 in Baldivis, of which one's mine, and there's a couple in Secret Harbour, Golden Bay, who would frequently go down to Mandurah. So having a couple of destination charges in there would be great.
But it's also midpoint, isn't it? It's kind of on the way between Perth and going down south on holidays, and the same in reverse. A lot of people will stop off at Mandurah, certainly if they've got EVs, they'll stop there as a lunch point, let's say, or somewhere to just have a tea break or what have you, and it's a good place to have it.
Yeah, I use the shopping centre at Bustleton when I go down. There's 2 there.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
So I'll have a chat with...
sorry, just one thing. If they're going to put in some more chargers, which would be great, I would usually like them to be put further away from the entrance. Those 2 charger places are right by the post office, and the number of ICE cars that park there just to pop into the post office, and then I'm trying to squeeze in and plug in my car, and they come out and I say, you do realise this is for
electric vehicles to get a mouthful of abuse and a tirade of why don't you piss off type of things. So the further away you park them, I don't mind the walk. And you're less likely for the parking spots to get, So those are two ideal ones. That's at Busselton Central.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I was only there a week ago. And those two are never iced because they're too far from the blooming entrance.
People are lazy.
Yes.
So they're Tesla destination chargers, aren't they?
Yes. You get 11 kilowatts. They're 3-phase. They're brilliant.
Yeah. Perfect.
The contrast of that is, I know there's a good photo at Riverton Forum.
Yeah.
Which
They're right by a door.
Unfortunately, for convenience reasons, because they are literally, the power source is, it's hard up against the building.
Yeah.
Because the actual, just to the right, there's a switchboard where the actual power's coming. So these things are always, oh, look, there's big shout out to Damon, who watches us in half-hour slabs on YouTube. And there's his, well, it's not burnt orange, it's more like watermelon.
Here we go.
Watermelon red. Next to a, no, look at this, next to a Nissan Leaf. It's not supposed to be charging because the sign clearly says Tesla vehicle charging only. A bit hard to see there. But yeah, unfortunately, that, in fact, just behind there is where the switchboard is. So these bays are very, very popular.
Yeah.
And as Nigel said, it's much better to be further out to the outskirts of the car park.
Obviously, they don't want to be running 3-phase power cables for 50 yards. They usually stick them right by
power source,
a power source. But interesting thing at Stockland Baldivis, they've got two right by the door, which is right by the manager's office. And he's got the power coming out from his office, the cables to those 2 points, and he's got the trip switch inside. But further down the car park, there's all the power units and power supply in a big, big unit. So I suggested that he might like to put a few more in down that end, which is a fair old walk from the door.
Yes, because this is quite popular.
Yeah, look at that.
Oh, look, there's mine.
It's always there. But it's good that those ones, even though they are right next to the door, they're never iced. Well, not when I've gone anyway. There's always honestly, electric cars in there. But
yeah, they're getting a bit popular.
They are.
But I must admit, I haven't seen any ICE vehicles parked in there at all, which is always good because they look like they're pretty well signed.
Hey, Nigel, a couple of weeks ago, I had a double icing, which was a Mustang that was parked across, not one, but across 2 EV spots.
Good job.
Genius.
Did he still have air in his tires at the end of the day?
No, I actually walked back and it was a lady, and I said to her, so you realise these are electric parking spots? And she said to me, she said, "Oh, you've got an electric car, have you?" And I said, "I do." And she goes, "Push me," does something along those lines. And I said, "No, I do. I can show you." Then she said, "Well, I had diarrhea. I had to go. And I was back straight away." So
yeah, well, she was giving you the shits, wasn't she?
Exactly. She was full of shit. That's for sure.
On that note, there's I noticed there's a forum and a Facebook page for I think they call it Ice Holes Australia.
Facebook page.
Yeah, and there's a couple of good little stickers going around that you can download the PDF and print them off, and then just leave like little business cards on people's windscreens just to politely say, please don't do that again. And it's just, I think, just to try and get the word out there, because some people genuinely don't know. They're just a bit oblivious to the world, and some people are clearly doing it on purpose because they don't give a shit. But yeah, it is frustrating, isn't it?
So, Rich, when you go and meet the mayor, dear old Barry, do you think there'll be a good idea to have numbers of EVs to show him how popular they are?
Yeah, I mean, if somebody can just basically email me a heap of information that is I can use as positive reinforcement about why it's such a good idea to back EVs and how positive it can be to the region, then the more information I've got, the better. So if you've got numbers and stuff like that, that would be really useful. I'm just going to type my email address in here. For one of them. It should come up. I think it's going to everybody. Don't spam me. Does that come through on the messages?
Yep.
Yep. Cool. So yeah, any information that might be useful, that would be great.
Well, the thing is, the state governments in their EV policy have stated. In fact, one of the great references is this policy here, which is a state electric vehicle strategy for Western Australia. And one of their key findings is that accelerating the uptake of electric vehicles in Western Australia will provide public health benefits of over $20 million each year by reducing air pollution.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the state government has,
and yet they only put in 20 million.
You can basically see here, charging electric vehicles from solar energy during the middle of the day will provide multiple benefits of cleaner power transportation, as well as soaking up excess cheap electricity generation and potentially reducing the need for network investment, because the cars can soak up the surplus solar during the daytime.
Mm.
And that's where they've basically said that they are going to stimulate the uptake of electric vehicles, in their fleet.
Harold, have you got that? Are you able to post that link?
Well, it would be quicker just to Google state electric vehicle strategy for Western Australia. That will be one of the very first. That will be one of the top. This is not a link. It's actually a PDF.
And Harold, in relation to that, they've gone and put aside $20 or $21 million to put in an EV charging infrastructure, but it's not all for that, though, is it? Some of that's to buy themselves cars.
Because see this little point 10 here, and I'll just zoom in because it's small writing. Because see at the top it says invest funds to achieve. No, not that one. Sorry, it's the one beneath it. Yes, this one. See, invest up to 20 million to support the creation of electric vehicle charging infrastructure network, facilitating travel, blah, 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 right? And you think that's $20 million, but it's got a little footnote number 12. And the killer is footnote 12 says 20 billion has been allocated to support the creation of an electric vehicle charging infrastructure network and a minimum 25% electric vehicle target. So what that means is the 20 million isn't just for charging infrastructure, it's for charging infrastructure and a minimum 25% target in the next 4 years. So it's more like half of the $20 million or less will be used for charging infrastructure, and the other half will be to deliberately buy electric vehicles over conventional vehicles over the next 4 years.
That's not going to be enough, because not only are they buying their own electric vehicles, they're going to put in their own chargers in the government buildings for their own use.
Yes, that's a separate, let me just bring that up. That's actually a separate allocation of about $800,000. I think that's what they said at about,
But if all they've got is less than 20 million to put it in from Kununurra to Perth to Esperance and Kalgoorlie, it's not going to be anywhere near enough. They're not going to get 50 kilowatt chargers installed sufficiently. And if they start installing 50 kilowatt chargers only, they're already old hat. I mean, it's like going to choose Betamax, isn't it?
That's right. It's here. Invest 800,000 to install electric vehicle charging stations in government buildings to support the government electric vehicle fleet target. So that's separate. But you're right, Nigel. Unfortunately, the commitment is a lot less than it initially looked like, and it's vastly less than other state governments have
Well, New South Wales is at around 500 million, 500 million.
Yes, and in fact, if we look at the New South Wales policy document in comparison, oh, sorry, that's South Australia's. There's so many to choose from. The New South Wales one.
Yeah, haven't they allocated 171 million just for a charging infrastructure?
Have. Yes, they have. And their commitment is that there'll be ultra fast, not just fast, but ultra fast DC chargers every 100 kilometres.
Yeah, I think the WA state government are going to put in 10 amp sockets.
And long extension leads.
We'll be there for a few hours.
They'll have double adapters everywhere.
Yeah, Western Power are taking 19 million and the other million is spent on double adapters at Kmart.
Here it is. This is the New South Wales one. I'll just get my stuff together. Yeah, so their strategy is there we go, $171 million. And they've actually got a map where they're showing all the way to Broken Hill and Mildura and Burke. So you can go back at Burke, and this is on ultra fast DC charging. And then actually within many of the major cities where people don't have off-street parking, they will have a fast DC charger within a 5 kilometre radius of any house in the greater metropolitan areas.
How good is that? I mean, so New South Wales would be what, half the size of WA, if not even probably a third. Okay, a third of the size of WA, and they're getting 17 times as much towards their charging network.
Yes, and they may only have 3 times the population, 4 times. So it's still a massive difference.
If they don't have Western Power.
Oh, don't start him on Western Power. There he goes. Come on, Jared, get into it, mate.
No Western Power in New South Wales.
Oh, it's called Eastern Power by definition.
Eastern Power. I did hear that.
You're right. You're right, Harold. With the population, it's 9 million versus about 2.7, or just under 9. So yeah, about 3 times. Yep, spot on.
Yeah, cool.
Good news with the Ampol thing that was on Facebook though. That's a start in the right direction.
So say again, Alex?
I did post something about Ampol. They released a statement.
Yeah, it's awesome.
A couple of months ago. So
yes,
telling us to jump on board with Tesla. So
I think that's a good start. I mean, I think it'll come. It'll definitely come. But in the UK, I think Shell has started with. I think they've invested £700 million, which is a lot of money. In charging infrastructure in every single one of their service stations throughout the UK, which I think is that's an awesome step in the right direction, and I think it'll follow.
The British government have mandated no more petrol diesel cars being sold by 2030.
Yeah.
Or was it, no, who's doing 2025? Norway.
Norway.
And Europe's all following suit. So they've seen the writing on the wall.
Mm.
And in Australia, we're building more and more and more petrol stations. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
I can't believe in Mandurah, there's so many. I've never been to a place anywhere on earth where there are so many fuel stations within 5 k's of each other.
Don't worry, Rich, they'll build 2 more next week.
Mate, it blows my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I can't find the chat entry, but someone was talking about when Tesla's going to do the Perth superchargers. So as we know, they're going to do the Williams one, well, basically in August, which is obviously Q3 this year. The north of Perth or northern suburb of Perth will be a similar time. And then there's going to be another one in Perth, probably just south of Perth, or southern suburbs of Perth, Q1 next year. So that's about.
Rob Rob said something to me once. I think at the meet we had in Coburn, which is a very valid point, that those superchargers really ought to not be in a central point, because people are going to use them just as a daily charge center rather than charging at home, and instead of people being able to use them in remote locations like Jurien Bay, where you've got a problem at the moment.
They actually won't, because all the new Teslas don't have free unlimited supercharging, unlike some of the older ones.
Right.
So all the new Model 3s, Model S's, Model X's, Cybertrucks, whatever, Model Y, that's going to be announced next week, which is something I forgot to actually mention earlier, but my little prediction is by next week, we'll be looking at the website going, how awesome is it that you can order Model Ys already?
That early?
Yep. That's
right.
My neck is sticking right out on that one, but anyway. So there's there's no doubt that it's going to change.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
It's going to be a race between you and Ken, who gets the first one.
Yes. We're already practicing on how to click, blue, white interior,
as fast as you can do it,
and then go. Dear. But yeah, so there are more superchargers coming, but they won't be overwhelmed by locals,
right?
Because
of
there's
that
a price signal. It costs 52 cents per kilowatt hour to supercharge, whereas it costs between 29 cents a kilowatt hour and close to zero if you've got solar.
Yeah.
So whereas in the old days when there was free unlimited supercharging, like my car has got free unlimited, so I guess you could say that someone like me would just want to go to the supercharger all day, every day, if there was one. All the modern cars don't have those privileges.
But don't forget, even if you've got free supercharging and you reach your charging level, you still get charged an idling fee.
Yes, and in fact,
it's quite pricey as well, isn't it?
There's a court case. There's actually a court case.
Well, there isn't anymore. The judge threw it out.
Good, because it was insane. And in fact, there's a classic. Was it CBS or CNBC? There was an anchor lady who saw the report. They had the report. She comments afterwards to say, "This guy's just a idiot,
crank,
like a crank." But he was trying to sue Tesla because his car has free unlimited lifetime supercharging, which is true, but his car doesn't have free unlimited
parking
after your car has finished charging at the said supercharger. So Tesla charged him an idle fee, which is when your car has stopped charging and it's taking up that parking spot that someone else would be able to use.
What was the
He
bill?
tried to take it to court, or sorry, he took it to court to sue Tesla for charging him money for not charging.
But that's what they do in America. They just sue each other.
Yeah.
It's about $1.10 a minute or something here, isn't it?
Yes, it is. But it only, as I mentioned earlier, it only applies if you overstay. I think the first 5 minutes is free. I think it has to be after the first 5 minutes. Bearing in mind that, of course, you get notifications on your app saying that supercharging is ending soon. And of course, say if you set your car to 90%, well, you could always slide it to 100 and it will take forever to get to the 100. But that's being a bit impolite. But the main thing is in Perth or WA, you only get charged that fee if the supercharger is more than 50% occupied. So if it's midnight and you're the only person there and you just forget to unplug your car, you'll be fine.
So you get free charging, Harold?
Free, unlimited, lifetime supercharging, except I could leave my house with 100% charge and go to Eton to charge my car for free. And by the time I get back home, I'll have half as much as I had when I left. So it doesn't make a lot of sense.
It's pretty good how they built it in Eton.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I must admit, when Eton was being built, I went up and down the Forest Highway every day for, well, not quite every day, but every couple of days for about 4 weeks, watching the progress, glacially slow as it was.
And the next one they're building is in Tom Price. So that's
well, the next one's in Williams, but yes, Tom Price. That's great town. That
town.
That was named after Tom, a gentleman called Tom Price, who was the head of Kaiser Steel in America. And it was I think they named it after him because he famously said that, something like there wouldn't be enough iron ore in Tom Price to feed the world or something like that. And they actually deliberately named that mountain or that hill after him.
Tom Price,
Yeah, Tom Price, head of Kaiser Steel.
There you go.
Did Tesla build the ones in Eton?
Sorry, say again?
Did Tesla build the ones in Eton, or did the Eton shopping centre guy do it?
No, Tesla did. So Tesla have obviously got, or presumably got, a lease agreement with Eton Fair Shopping Centre. And then Tesla, it was actually Geograph Electrical that installed the charger of the chargers, but Tesla paid for the whole lot.
And so would they do it again if I've got a place to do it, let's say in Cannington on Albany Highway, Nicholson Road?
Oh, and you want to host the supercharger? Yeah, of course. So what you do is you go to tesla.com, and I'll try and do this a little bit better this time. So what you do is you go to tesla.com, you go menu and charging. And then you go upon arrival. And you've got charging partners.
Yep.
Click learn more. And then you suggest, at the bottom there's a form, and you have the contact type, business owner, blah, blah, blah. And you put in your details, and then just check the superchargers checkbox.
Yep. And then would I have to pay for?
No, you pay nothing. Tesla, let's just say you're the owner of a fantastic site that's got plenty of power and other amenities that are useful, and you generously, well, you in a hard-nosed fashion say to Tesla, you know what, if you put a 6-stall or a 3-stall supercharger here, I will charge you precisely nothing for a 10-year lease or whatever, then they'll take your proposal very seriously.
Because
what's the benefit to Tesla there?
Well, let's just say if it was for free, which for them is a good deal.
Yeah.
It's a mutually beneficial arrangement. So say, well, actually,
it makes their product look more. It makes their product look more appealing because there are more places to charge.
Yes. Yeah. So, for instance, in Sydney, Tesla publicised that they were actively seeking people to host a supercharger site, because apparently in Sydney they could not, by normal means, find any sites that were suitable or available. Now, maybe in Perth, Tesla, presumably because they've declared, so if you go to their website, they've got 2 pins. Let's just go Tesla, and you go charging on the road, and you click on the map. In WA, you've got the Eaton one, you've got the Williams one, you've got what used to be the Perth one, and that used to say Q3 2021. In fact, it used to say 2017 and 2018 and 2019 and 2020 and 2021, but they've renamed it Perth North. And they've also now placed another one in Perth, which is Q1 2022.
Right.
So Pete and I have had long discussions, and Pete has mounted a cogent case for it to be in Joondalup, which actually makes a lot of sense. So it's somewhere up here, if it's going to be a north, a North Perth or Perth North. I mean, don't be fooled by the fact that it happens to be on Karrinyup Road on the freeway. That's just a placeholder. Although I have been to the new Karrinyup shops, which is huge.
Yep.
And done a lot of scouting around just in case, but there's no sign of it at the moment.
And there's fast DC chargers at Gwelup there already.
Yes, exactly. But yes,
there's we've put up, or I've put up a article on the Tokwa website. So if you just go into search and type in Joondalup, it should come up. And there's lots of other good articles as well. Speaking of the Jurien Bay charger, Rob put up an article about charging there on the Tokwa website as well, just recently.
In fact, there's a better site to go to.
The Engage site, is that the one?
It's the Engage site. So if you put in engage.tesla.com/clubs/Western Australia, actually, I'll just put that in chat, so you guys can get a preview. So I'm just going to stop the share for a second so I can stick it in chat.
Just a random question. Obviously, I'm going to be having an audience with the Mayor of Mandurah shortly. Is there a cost to the Shire if the Shire can offer up a site, or let's say a site like Eaton, like 6 charging stations?
Are you in a supercharger?
Yeah.
No.
So no cost to the Shire, but it could attract EV users to the centre of Mandurah.
Yes.
What about the electricity, Harold?
Tesla pays for it.
Excellent.
Harold, would you Just wonder
Yes,
if there's a
yes, I will. Yes, I would.
Yeah, a packet of information that you could perhaps send me to talk to Reece about that, because there are a number of sites in Mandurah which I think could benefit. Knowing the redevelopment that's going on in the centre of Mandurah right now, and they're trying to pull people in, it is a handy little spot to have them. I mean, there's no real benefit to me as such because I'll have solar and I don't get free supercharging. But for those that do, and for those on a journey down south or coming up north from the south, it's a good little stopping point.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in the fullness of time, Mandurah would make a fair bit of sense. In fact, to be honest, you know, you should have one at Alkimos and one in Mandurah.
Yeah.
And not necessarily have one in the centre of the city. But there is one profound use case for one to be in the centre of the city, and that's for taxis and similar sort of commercial fleets, where you want rapid charging in the centre of the city, or at least near the centre of the city.
Yeah.
But there are many cities, or there were many cities in Europe, whereby the charger would be about 50 or 60 kilometres from the centre of the city, you know, either side of the centre of the city.
Yeah.
But there is that use case of, if you're a commercial vehicle or a taxi or something similar, that you do need rapid charging in town. But not the residents, because again, it makes much more sense to charge at home because it's a lot cheaper.
Well, I was just thinking, obviously, knowing that it's not going to cost the Shire anything to install it, other than some inconvenience to, you know, and offering up the site. If there's already a site that kind of suits, then for the journeys that happen with the EV taxis and things that are starting to happen, Uber drivers, etc., that go between the city and Mandurah back up to the city again, it's a great spot to encourage EV Uber drivers to actually drive from the city, drop people off down in Mandurah or in that area, supercharge back up and drive back up to the city again.
Absolutely. Yep.
So it kind of makes good business sense.
And Rich does.
Sorry, go
on. There's also a secondary benefit for you, even though you might have solar at home and 90% of your charging might be at home, and that's in an emergency. Or let's say, you know, you're planning to drive 200k tomorrow, you put the car on charge and the power goes out overnight, and now you realize you've got 15% in the battery, and you know, you've got the family packed. If you've got a supercharger 5k down the road, well, you just sit in there, 15 minutes later you're back and off you go.
I found myself the other night, Pete, sitting at Mandurah RAC charge point, because Lindsay got called in with COVID. As a essential worker, she got called in, and we'd been using the car, and obviously at the moment we don't have our solar, it's not installed yet, and so we're charging off a standard socket, which obviously is only 10-11 k's now. And I was like, crap, okay, no worries, I'll drive down. And I was sat there for 2 hours. I kept making sure nobody was turning up, and I just kept replugging in again, just to get some juice. Yeah, so
absolutely.
I guess you're right.
Yeah, and there's a few people around the area where I live, so I'm sort of north of Joondalup. We live on a 5-acre site, and there's a few people that I've spoken to, and you wouldn't think it would come up that much, but people that put quite a bit of thought into, you know, the practicalities of an EV before they pull the trigger and buy one. This has come up on 3 different occasions. What happens if the power goes out? What happens if I forget to charge it? And, you know, or in an emergency and I've got to go somewhere. And, you know, all I had to say is, well, Gwelup is your closest charger, which in traffic could be 40 minutes away. You know, so plus the charge time there, and it's a 50 kilowatt charger, so it's not exactly fast. And, you know, and it could be full and all the rest of it, and then 40 minutes back. So it's not, So having it there as a backup, you know, it puts people at ease.
Well, that's awesome.
I can think it's benefiting everyone at the end of the day, isn't it?
100%. Yeah.
So I think it's a great idea. Tesla's willing to go ahead with it.
Yeah,
absolutely. And also, so that article that I put up, some people said, oh, you know, it'd be better, you know, in Jurien or somewhere or blah blah. So I'm not arguing against a site in Mandurah or Coburn or Jurien, because Tesla have put a marker and called it Perth North. So there is already a charger coming to the northern suburbs of Perth. I was just arguing if it's going to be in a northern suburb in Perth somewhere, Joondalup makes a hell of a lot of sense, as does a secondary, oh, there's the article there, as does a secondary site in Wanneroo, depending on what Tesla's trying to achieve. Yeah, that's the article there. Nice one.
Guys, I'm gonna have to scoot and shoot. Thanks very so much. My first one in this evening.
Yeah, no worries, Rich. Good to have you here. And
I'm doing the same. Thank you very, very much. It was excellent.
No worries, Harry.
All good.
Hey, Harold, don't forget, Lindsay and I
back
still need to
anytime
pay
you
for
like
that.
it all.
Lindsay and I still need to pay for that cable yet, so you need to send me the details.
Oh yes, yeah, no worries. That's all good. I'll do that in the fullness of time.
Awesome. Good on you guys. Thanks heaps, and I'll see you on the next one.
No worries.
Yes.
Cheers. See ya.
See you now. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Cool. So
Harold,
anyone else got any other questions or anything? I've got that link to the Engage Tesla website. That's our own website as part of Tesla's website. So feel free to click through, and I think it comes up as a apply to join, and you just say, well, you just do that. You put in your Tesla credentials, and then I'll just get like a message and just approve you guys to come in.
Beautiful.
Yes, so that's right. So that Engage website, you need to log in with your Tesla credentials to view the articles. On the top of the website, it's just available to, the public.
Well, in fact, you can even do it without credentials because we've set all the articles as public view.
Okay.
But one of the advantages is that once you are registered or logged in, Tesla may in the future then send you information directly for any relevant campaigns they might be running in Western Australia, whether that's to encourage the state government to put more funding into charging or whatever. So it's a great direct connection that Tesla will have, with all the owners.
Actually, on that point, Harold, I for a few years now, I've been Robin Denholm's connection on LinkedIn.
Oh, cool.
So I sent her a message the other day because I read the article about the solar-powered or the off-grid superchargers in Tibet, in China. And I thought these would, as we've spoken about numerous times, I thought these would be perfect in some of the remote regional parts of WA where we've got, plenty of sun and perhaps prohibitively high connection costs.
Yep.
And I said, look, it might be an opportune time. The WA state government has recently announced an EV fund, some of which will be going towards EV charging infrastructure. So I sent her some contacts for some of the ministers, and she actually replied, which was
cool.
great. And yeah, she said she would pass it on to the right people. So that was really encouraging.
Fantastic.
Really nice of her to reply.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome, Pete. The funny thing is you never quite know which contact bears fruit.
And look, she's the chairman of the board of Tesla, so or chairperson, I should say. But I did explain. I said, because I got the idea from you after last week, where you mentioned Kurt Schlosser had left, and because I was thinking about emailing him, and then I thought, well, what I'll do is I'll send it to Robin, and I started off by saying with Kurt Schlosser no longer, being the Australian contact, I didn't know who to speak to. So Yeah, which was really nice, and yeah,
cool, awesome. No, look, it's one of my frustrations is that we know that the Tesla superchargers are compatible with all CCS2 EVs because that was proven in Europe when they inadvertently had set all the superchargers, the CCS superchargers in Europe to free issue for non-Tesla EVs. So there were Porsches and Konas charging for nothing at supercharger sites, whereas Tesla's had to pay, their, whatever it was, 50 cents a kilowatt hour. So we know they're compatible. Elon Musk has stated several times that he's happy to open up the supercharger network to all EVs. And imagine if Tesla could go to the state government and say, we'll take your $10 million and we'll put another $10 million on top and provide fast DC charging all over the state.
Absolutely.
Because that way Tesla, if they only have to pay half as much capital, well, they'll build twice as many, if not more, probably 3 times as many stations, because they can leverage not just on the Tesla owner, the Tesla drivers that want to supercharge, but all the other EV owners. And they could even have a slightly different tiered cost structure. So you could have a discount for Tesla drivers and a standard price for others.
Absolutely. There's actually a precedent in Norway now. I was reading an article recently where it was a condition of, I can't remember if it was the Norway government or one of the local governments that put money towards a Tesla chargers, and it was a condition that they had to open it up to other manufacturers, which is fair enough.
It was a news article that I'd read that I was going to mention, but I thought, well, it's a bit regional. And it did definitely state for some superchargers. So they're compelled, Tesla are compelled to do it for some. Whether they choose to do it for all of them, which they should do.
Harold, can I just chime in with this here? Because I wrote a letter or emailed to Amber Jane Sanderson about this, and who then forwarded it on to Bill Johnson, the Energy Minister. And I've got official letter-headed replies from both of them. Here's the section in the letter back from Bill Johnson. With regard to your suggestion for a preferential contract with Tesla to supply charging equipment equivalent to the value of $20 million, the McGowan government is of the stronger view that the projects such as the state fast charge network should be developed and funded on a commercial basis. Western Power Synergy and Horizon Power must follow accountable processes that provide the best overall value for money when delivering these projects. Equipment and technology providers such as Tesla will have the opportunity to offer services and equipment under associated tenders and procurement processes in a competitive process if they choose to. So basically, if a tender comes up, Tesla can bid.
Yes.
But it seems to contradict itself, because he's saying Western Power Synergy and Horizon must follow accountable processes. But that's not a
No, so they can't sort of just decide to use Tesla arbitrarily. But look, you, Richard, Pete, and probably me, we have to get together and work out how to make sure that Tesla is aware of the opportunity.
Exactly.
Because we all know, and this especially pertains to the remote sites where Tesla has built-in battery storage. I mean, they make their own solar panels, but it would be cheaper just to buy commercial panels, because the price differential between the United States and Australia is ridiculously huge.
But it doesn't make sense to me though that the project. I mean, we've all been checking tenders.wa.gov to see if it comes.
No, actually, Richard, I'll cut you off right there.
It's not going to be on there.
It will not appear on the tender site, because Synergy in particular the last time they had a tender on the WA Tenders site, or tenders.wa.gov.au site, was the what they call the big battery at the Kwinana Power Station. That was an open tender, but Synergy prefer to do effectively private tenders. And I forget the company, but there's a private company where you have to register with Synergy to be a qualified supplier, and then you can log on to this private tender website to get those tenders. So
this is my point though, because here it says Tesla will have the opportunity to offer service and equipment if they choose to do so. But if it's not open for public,
well, no, it is,
then...
as long as the public apply to Synergy and qualify as a supplier of Synergy. But the clear thing is we need to get together and try and work out how to break through this, because there'll be a resistance on Tesla's side, because most of Tesla's managers don't want to open up the superchargers to other EVs, because in Europe and in the United States, and probably in China, there's an overwhelming number of other EVs that will pollute, or not pollute, overwhelm, or put a large impost on the supercharger network, which they're trying to build in those places as quickly as possible.
But surely
we would make money. It would be beneficial for Tesla, because most of the supercharger sites are vacant.
But surely you could just price accordingly, 5 times what a Tesla customer would pay, or twice, or 1.5.
It would have to be a reasonable amount, but yeah, I mean, you couldn't be punitive, but there could be a discount for Tesla owners. But even if it wasn't, even if it was flat pricing, the great benefit is Tesla wants to increase their reach, but there's only a certain number of cars in the fleet. And if there are, well, actually, I mean, the good thing and the sad thing in one sense is that Tesla in WA is probably 90% of the fleet. There'll probably be 75% of the fleet sort of forever, unless, well, you've got BYD allegedly bringing in cars later this year that are pretty cheap, but who knows? You know, Tesla in Australia is completely different. Australia is prime to open up their supercharging network to all EVs. And if the state government can put in half the money or a third of the money, it means that Tesla can put their superchargers in so many other locations. And like I said, Tesla's got the battery storage technology. They can bring in solar panels. So all the remote sites, they've already got the solution in-house that they're selling to themselves with extra funding from the government.
So, I agree.
So Tesla will always be cheaper than any other supplier. Because you don't have to go like Tritium, and Tritium will sell their charger at full discounted wholesale price. And the battery manufacturers will supply their battery systems at full discounted wholesale prices. And the solar panel people will do the same. Tesla can do it at full discounted wholesale prices, less a certain margin.
Well,
they're going to build it anyway.
It's actually the same as the SpaceX winning the contract to return humans to the surface of the moon. That they're getting half or more of the money from NASA, but they're going to do it anyway.
Exactly, and therein lies my huge frustration, because Tesla can open up their superchargers to any EV owner just by releasing the Tesla app. Well, in fact, anyone can download the Tesla app on their phone, but at the moment you need to have a Tesla account and a Tesla car for it to work. But if you had a Kona,
would they not need a hardware adapter?
No.
Really? Okay.
No, because the CCS protocol already has identifiers to identify which car it is.
Even easier than I thought then.
it's so much easier. It's just not funny. But unfortunately, I think there's wheels within wheels. But actually, that letter from Amber Jane Sanderson, or sorry, was it her reply or was it Bill Johnston's reply?
This was Bill Johnston's reply.
Yes.
I'll send them to you.
Yeah, well, Tesla needs to know about it. And Pete, I mean, if you want to forward that up the line, up to the top of the line, that's probably a very good email to forward, actually, because that says in black and white that Tesla have the opportunity to bid on this project. And actually, to be perfectly honest, sometimes the executive team aren't aware of. For us, it's a big deal. For them, it's the minutiae of, you know,
exactly.
Yep.
Some minor event.
Yeah.
Which actually, you know, for Tesla, $10 million is sort of a rounding error. but for Western Australia, it's a very big deal. And you know, I really wish that, you know, what was that reveal? Oh, I forget the guy's name, but he yelled out, it might have been the Model 3 reveal, or was it the Model Y reveal, when he yelled out Kazakhstan.
Oh yeah.
And Elon Musk said, oh yeah, we'll build a supercharger in Kazakhstan. It was almost like a joke, but they did do it.
Exactly.
And for a while, Bunbury or Eaton had lost its world's most remote supercharger location to Kazakhstan. And what's even more ironic is it won it back because they built 2 supercharger locations in Kazakhstan. So then Eaton regained its world record of being the world's most remote single supercharger station.
There's a Kazakhstani American who's a Tesla owner in California,
Yes.
or something, and he's a bit of a Tesla nut, a bit like some of us. And
he's in the third row, isn't he?
Yes, yes.
Name. Yeah.
Was he on that interview with Elon?
Yes, at the
at one?
Willy Wonka's at
Yes,
Gene Wilder's house.
Yeah.
So you know, that's some random guy yelling out Kazakhstan. I mean, you know, imagine if you or I would, or Richard or any of us were at that reveal and we yelled out
Western
Australia or you know, Western Australia. then Elon would have gone, yeah, let's do that. Or, you know, they did the Trans-Canadian Highway, which was, I think that was a year and a half ago. And they ended up being all version 3 superchargers, which was really awesome. You know, Elon Musk flew to the Clare Valley or Adelaide, and in a few weeks got the Adelaide supercharger built and the Clare Valley supercharger built so that he could fly to the big battery at Clare to open it and have cars charging along the way. Well, imagine if he had decided to just cross Australia with superchargers from Perth to Adelaide. He just snap his fingers and get it done.
I'm always
He had
asking
it in
him.
his mind.
He never replies.
Yeah, anyway.
One
He
day
wrote to me once.
Hey, it's after 11.
Hey, Harold, I've got some news about my car.
Oh, Nigel, go. Tell us. Yeah, I know last week it was in for repairs.
Okay, before I put it in for repairs, I had a problem with the boot lid. Whereas when you open it up, it opens and then it closes. Doesn't stay open for too long. So I've mentioned that I've put the service call in, and Adam rings me up and says, oh, we can also fit your car in for repair. So last week it went in for repair. Also to fix up the boot lid so it can open up properly and stay open. So I get the car back, scratches all gone, car looks immaculate. until you go look at the boot lid. And if you know, the new Model 3s are, every panel is nice and aligned. And that included my car when I actually received it. So every panel was in line. When I got the car back, the boot lid wasn't aligned. And now when the door opens, it goes up and it slams shut as soon as it hits the maximum peak. So Adam saw that, and I think his service tech friend that was sitting next to him saw it as well. And I basically went back to him and said, look, this car's now in worse condition than I actually sent it in, despite the fact you removed the scratch. And he came back and said, look, yeah, just put the service call in and we'll get a ranger out to your place next week to fix it up. So I put the call in. So far, I've seen an email from them saying that the parts have been ordered, but given that we're in lockdown, wonder whether they'll come out to fix the car.
Well, actually, the lockdown is immaterial to them doing that because car mechanics are exempt from lockdown.
Okay.
So I don't actually know if anyone had cars delivered the last couple of days, whether that was affected. But I do know one of our members, a mate of mine, dropped his car off to Tesla yesterday, and picked up a loan car, which is why I had those images of the MCU, like I could have all those simulation images. So I know that the service part of Tesla were definitely working yesterday and today and throughout the lockdown. So I presume a Ranger would be in the same situation if they were, but you're saying it's next week, isn't it?
No, apparently it's on Friday, and I haven't got any.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I presume that call out mechanics have the same conditions as normal ones, which is they're exempt from lockdown. But I don't see what they're going to do. Presumably, there's a misalignment issue with the.
There's a misalignment, and I believe one of the struts has actually lost all its gas.
Oh, okay, right. So
they'll have to replace the struts and everything. So I've seen the parts being ordered. So
yeah,
I believe that hopefully they come in by Friday so they can be installed in my car.
Yeah, fingers crossed. It's been a bit of a long saga, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, it's been 3 months actually.
3 months for the scratch to be removed.
So how does it look? Does it look good?
It does actually look good. Apparently, when I had to have a look at the plastic underbody has been replaced. They had to remove the dent that they put into the car, so that's been done. Other than that, yeah, it looks like a brand new car.
Awesome.
Apart from the boot lid, but hopefully that should be fixed by Friday.
Yeah, well, it should be. So Adam says, so Adam does. We hope.
Yeah.
And the thing is, obviously, to fly parts in that all the careers and all the aeroplanes are still flying, so it'll be fine, hopefully.
Yeah.
Cool. So any other bits of news or anything before we wrap up?
I used autopilot for the first time the other day.
Oh.
And just about shat myself.
What, because it was so good?
It was so fucking scary, I tell you. I've been on a few roller coasters that were pretty much the same.
I actually used it coming back from Tesla, and it was a massive traffic jam, so I just let the car handle itself, and it actually did the steering with hands-free as well, because it was actually under 10 k's an hour.
Well, there you go. Yeah, it was pretty impressive, I must admit. But yeah, I don't know how often I've been using it. I'm still a bit cautious on that one.
I'll bet you $100 that in a month's time you'll go, why am I even touching this steering wheel at all? Like why am I just using it all the time?
And I'll add 500 to that because the danger is, see, people always start off being quite hesitant, and then they get comfortable with it, and then the danger is on the other side that you get too trusting. you know, that's where the problems can arise.
I feel that one definitely.
And the worst one is that you're not aware of when it's not engaged.
Mm.
And you presume it is, and you let go of the steering wheel, and for a while the car drives relatively straight until it gently drifts, and you're like looking down at something else because that's more interesting than the road, and then suddenly you're like almost hard on the curb.
Yeah,
that's never happened to anyone.
All I can say is that I've had a Honda for about 7 years, and it had autopilot, and you had to be really attentive to the road because every now and then it would do a phantom brake for no apparent reason. And some people, when you watch them on YouTube and all, like always complain about the phantom braking. You need to be driving a Honda Accord and actually use the function there and watch it phantom brake on you.
Well, what's even worse is the Hyundai Kona, not the, I haven't driven the electric version, but just the petrol version with like their sort of autopilot-y lane keeping assist thing. That thing's even worse because if you hold the steering wheel, it sort of maintains itself in a straight line or follows the lane. But when you let go of it, after a short period of time, without any warning, it just stops working because it doesn't feel your hands or it doesn't feel you doing anything and just stops. But it doesn't, there's no tone, there's no visible warning except the light sort of just disappears. So just when you need it most, which is when you're not got your hand on the steering wheel, is when it just gives up silently. And that's just super dangerous.
Yeah.
But yeah, the biggest danger is those times when it's not actually on autopilot, but you think it is, or you presume it is.
Yeah.
And then you just slowly let it drift across.
Yeah.
And that's the risk. But seriously, as far as and also you're on a double carriageway going each way or a crossed intersection, and you've got those dotted curvy guidelines.
Yes.
That guide two lanes to turn right or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I've seen my car change lanes at a 45-degree angle straight across the intersection. Now,
well, I've had to do that, Harold, while there was a car right next to me and go into the car. And I would have thought that if there was a car there, it wouldn't do it. But I think it's prioritizing staying on what it thinks is the road. Yeah. So even if there's a car there, so, you know, lucky I had my hands on the wheel and quickly brought it back. The guy next to me thought I was, trying to bump him out of the way or something. But
so what you're saying, between you and Pete, I've got $600 credit towards.
No. Well, so Jared,
we're not doing a very good job at selling it out.
So Jared, what Pete just said makes you feel richer, but what Pete and I know is that once you get onto that it's almost like cocaine of the car just keeping its own lane, doing its own thing on the freeway, stop traffic, no problem. You'll suddenly get addicted and go, this is awesome, because you can be like a tourist and look around at the countryside, albeit while safely keeping a track of what's going on, broadly, but you're not doing the minutiae of lane keeping.
Yeah, I was getting cocaine at the start when I read the disclaimer in the beta version. I think I might have just been getting some cheap speed. I was looking for the cocaine.
It is funny that Tesla still call it the beta, and they've done it for the last 4 years. They've called it beta. Actually, Richard, you got AP1. They probably still call it beta.
Probably. I haven't looked for ages, but yeah.
And it's never going to alpha. Like it's permanently in beta.
Oh no, it's next week, Harold.
No, it's the other way. Oh yeah, 2 weeks.
Add something. Look, with autopilot, 3 occasions now. I believe that, and I say I'm a little bit uncertain about these, but a car coming up rapidly behind, it doesn't really, and it happened once on the Narrows Bridge, and it really, so I think I crossed into someone in the blind spot on autopilot. I did, and it just that really was scary. And I think it's happened one other time, possibly the other side, that a car coming up fine, and coming out to Mandurah, the same thing. It actually changed. I did what suggested a change, but there's a car coming up quite rapid, well, not that rapidly, but I mean coming up behind, and had I clicked OK, I'm sure it would have I've moved in the way of a fast going car. I just don't trust it now. I just
the way to get your trust back is to do it deliberately. So if you know there's a car in the lane next to you, put the indicator on and ask it to change lanes. Obviously have your hands on the wheel and don't let it change lanes, but you'll find that it's just going to pick up the car in the other lane and just highlight it in red and won't let you change lanes.
Yeah, well, it does that, but it did that very, very late. And I think it did on one occasion, but it's just like half a second. It's just.
But when you say did it late, did the car already start merging?
I just can't remember, but all three occasions were scary. That I thought if I had let the car do what it was going to get me to do, then I would have pulled out in front of a car that is, and I just I just won't use it. Yeah.
What you're saying, Harold, is I've got to get some cocaine and use the thing. Is that what you're saying?
No. Once you use it, it'll be full disclosure. I've never ever tried cocaine, so I don't actually know. So I'm really talking out of my rear end. But I surmise that it would be just as good as taking cocaine, presuming that's really addictive. But it's very relaxing. I mean, look. In some parts of start-stop traffic on the freeway,
I was on the freeway when I put it on, and it felt okay, but then it was speeding up like I was doing the speed limit, and it was just getting really close to the car in front of me.
Oh, but you can change. Yeah, but you can actually change the. I mean, I set the following distance at 1, which is the closest distance, because what you can find when it's really built up start-stop traffic. Even at the closest following distance, there's still a fair gap between you and the car in front, and people will sometimes dive in because they find a small gap and sort of squeeze in, which actually, having said that, the cars these days do really well. Like, they're quite relaxed. A car can literally barge its way in, and for a little while, your car will be close to the back of the car in front, but it then just sort of quite gently draws back a little bit or slows down a little bit to establish a proper gap. But yeah, it does it quite safely. So yeah, don't worry about it being what you think is quite close, because it is always attentive. It never gets tired, and it's always looking and sensing where that car is in front.
Okay.
But it's not perfect. But
No.
it's good enough to be addictive.
Yes,
as Harold said.
And if you're on the highway, like on an open road, it's just the best thing.
Yeah, it lost itself a bit at the lights when I was getting off the freeway going onto Leach Highway, and then once I was on Leach Highway, it was okay. Then it was pretty much. But every time I'd come off the freeway, when I came off the freeway and would turn onto Leach Highway, those markings would sort of go off and then come back on again.
Yes.
And you'd be watching the monitor. And
Oh, yes.
Lost its position.
Yeah. So it has its moments. So you need to sort of be aware of what its limitations are. And like I said before, double carriageway each way at a cross intersection with curvy lines, you always know it's going to chuck a wobbly. And in fact, if you want to have fun, go down the freeway, Cronulla Freeway South, get off at Manning Road, and stay in the left-hand lane. And as you get to Leigh Street, there's a set of lights.
Yeah.
And what it actually happens is it's effectively like a Y intersection where you've got to turn at a 45-degree angle to follow Manning Road, or you turn at a left at a 45-degree angle to follow Leigh Street. And what the car does, if there's no car in front of it and you're at the head of the queue, it effectively splits the difference and it aims straight for the power pole right on that corner every time without fail. And look, if I could tweet out to Elon and say, I bet that autopilot's not good enough to go through this intersection, it's going to kill me. And if he says, yeah, I'll bet you it won't. And I'll say, so you mean you're going to pay for my car if I wreck it? And he goes, yes, or okay. Then yes, I'll get my GoPro and record it. But yeah, it has its limitations.
Yeah, right.
But on average, on most well-marked roads, it's just awesome.
It's something they're going to improve anyway, I guess. Autopilot.
Yes, yeah.
It's a growing thing as well. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and when they get the new software stack, which they're already developing with the full self-driving, the beta 9 version, it's a profound change. Which, you know, but yeah, the good thing is once you study it for a little while, you know where its pitfalls are, but you know where it's super safe. Yeah. So if it's well-marked roads or a freeway or the forest highway, you know that you could virtually fall asleep. Not that I ever have, but you could virtually fall asleep with the beanbag on your steering wheel or whatever it takes. And you could know in half an hour's time, nothing would have happened. Absolutely nothing. You know,
99% of the time.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. It's the 1%ers that kill you. That's right.
my most relaxing drive ever was a nighttime drive. I was a bit short on charge, so only going about 100 or something. There's a car there's a car just in front of me, which I was just sort of tailing behind on full auto, whatever, and you know, and I just had my arm resting on the wheel, which is, you know, so I didn't have to move my arm at all. I just left it resting there, and so I didn't have to sort of worry about turning, you know, jiggling the steering wheel. And you know, it's just autopilot. I just sort of stayed behind this car. It was night time. You didn't have to worry about roos because there's no roos in that area, and I was just following a car, and the car stayed exactly the same speed until I turned off the supercharger at 50 k's at 100 k's later or whatever. So, and really, I did really nothing. It was just following a car, going 90, and just you know, I could have fallen asleep and it would have been okay for a while.
and that's the difference, because you're sort of aware of the executive function, which is your car's on the road, but you're not involved with the minutiae of lane keeping.
Yep.
And I think that's the bit that is really relaxing, even though, of course, as experienced drivers, all that lane keeping is automatic functions, which I'm trying to teach a kid in about 2 weeks' time how to do all that sort of stuff. And we knew it was hard, you know, when we were younger, but we're experienced. But still, it's somehow much more relaxing to not have to do that. You know, so nah, Jared, Pete and my money's safe. You will become aware of the benefit of autopilot. Absolutely, absolutely, and even traffic aware cruise control. So you can keep your feet off the brakes ever.
Yeah, I've found cruise control a couple of times, and sometimes by accident. Go to change lanes, forget the indicator on the left, go to the right, and then suddenly you've hit it into cruise control and you're speeding up and taking off. You know, when you're only doing 40 in a 60 zone or something, and you're like, whoa! So you know, it's very interesting in that regards. But it's a wake up curve. That's all.
Yeah, you just got to get used to it, and sometimes it's better to keep your hands off. If you're on autopilot, keep them off the wheel.
Yeah.
So that you know that you're not doing it.
Yeah.
So that way you're not going to, you know.
But it's constantly telling you to put your hand on the wheel.
Yes, but you can do that occasionally and just wiggle it, or just sort of put a little bit of pressure occasionally.
Yeah.
But then you know definitely that you're not touching it, because, like I said, the biggest risk is in this phase where it's not doing it all by itself. The biggest risk is you think it's an autopilot, you're not really touching the steering wheel or controlling it, and you're just slowly drifting off lane.
Yeah.
You know, into a curb, which means you're going to rim rash or worse, you know, pop a tire or something, because you didn't realize that you weren't in autopilot.
Yeah.
I was giving someone a drive, and I had showed them autopilot, and you know, they started driving to this road, and they weren't holding the wheels, and sort of going off. Oh, no, you're not in a autopilot. No. So, don't do it. You know. Anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
Hey, I think on that note, it's probably a good time to start wrapping up. Before we do, big shout out to Damon with the Burnt Orange Model X. Love your work. Half-hour slots, it's all good. Ashley, thanks for watching. It's going to be painful, but hey, someone's got to do it. To Hosmo Mubarak, who is a regular commenter on our YouTube channel, so thanks for doing that. Hope you like the answers. And of course, anyone else who's watching, you know, do comment, do like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, which is always good. For you guys, thanks for participating. Actually, tonight I think we had 27 participants, which was pretty awesome. That's a bit of a record, so that's fantastic. And yes, on this last day of the financial year, in fact, we've only got 31 minutes to buy a tax-effective Tesla-related purchase.
And happy birthday to Elon. He's 50 a couple of days ago.
Yes, indeed. Happy birthday to Elon. And I'd like to say that Tesla's share price has probably gone up to celebrate.
It has,
and it has too.
$691.
$691.26.
Yeah.
So thanks Tesla for making many of us happier than we were earlier, which is always good. But on that note, have a wonderful evening and an even better week. And we'll see you here next week on Ask Us Anything. Take care, everyone.
See you guys.
See you all.
Cheers.